Past here. There's not a lot of light, and I'm gonna try to make it work the best that I can. Hello, 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 everyone. Um, Happy Tuesday. I'm not happy. And every day it just goes ugh, right. Good morning, Nancy G. Good morning, Ada. Good morning, folks. Hey, Big Daddy D. Hey, Taz. Good morning, everyone. Uh, Holy shit. I am a little bit later than usual. Good morning, Shawnee, Butters House, DJ Wright, Sherry, Rando Brando. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I literally just got on cam. Literally. Good morning, Win Dixie and Brandy. Chris and Farah. Hello, hello, hello. Coolest mom ever. Folks, if you are watching me anywhere other than TikTok, you have to say hi in the chat in order for me to be able to see you. Yeah, Cam, just saying. If you're on Substack, I cannot see your chat, but I am so glad that you're here and appreciate you. What's up, Nisi? Grand rising to you. Hello, Candy Kiss. I'm just, did you like it, Cam? You like the background today? You guys haven't seen it yet. Hold on, let me put up what TikTok gets to see. Yeah, today was just one of those days. How am I feeling? I'm okay, Candy Kiss. You know what I mean? I'm okay. Good morning, Jamie. Yeah, probably Cam, probably. Well, this is better than the one I was going to go with. This is better than the one I was going to do, Cam. So does that tell you what kind of frame of mind I'm in today? Yeah, it should. It should absolutely tell you what frame of mind I'm in today. Yep. Hydrate today, folks. I recommend it. I recommend it. Top of the morning to you as well, Beach Bum wannabe. Let me just go ahead and kind of give you guys a little bit of there's so many things that have happened already this morning that we have to talk about. So we have to talk about the President of the United States. We have to talk about the UAE today. Hey, Jay Nice. We have to talk about, Chris, that exactly. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, Witch. I missed you sneaking in here. Yeah, so we have to talk about the UAE. We have to talk about their decision to leave OPEC. We have to talk about Iran's proposal to the U.S. and how in less than an hour, the President of the United States has fucked it up already. Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Melinda. Good morning, Bilal. Hey, friend. Good to see you. Yep, we have to talk about all of it. And you know what's so sad about this is they gave him a way out. Like, really, they gave him a way out. And fucked it up already, Melinda. Fucked it up. All I had to do was log on to Truth Social, and I was like, well, there goes that. Well, there goes that, because Iran's not going to play. I don't know why people don't understand this. Iran is not going to blink. They will not be bullied. Good morning, Jay Bird. Good morning, Marla. I am fantastic. Like, none of those things is going to none of those things is going to be good. Good morning, Jen. How are you? So yeah, like all of that, you guys, all of that. I would love to fix the lighting over here, but we're just going to run with it and just let it be a thing. Good morning, Sassy Cinderella. Good morning, Tech Lady. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Ken Swifty. He's a Swifty fan. We love that. Good morning. Okay, so I have a full thing of water for today. And I even brought a snack because I expect today to be a full day. So we're just going to kind of rock with it and keep it going. Good morning, Kimber. Okay, so I'm not even sure like exactly where I want to start this morning. Good morning, Jenny. So when you say isn't Russia helping Iran, Russia has always been a supporter of Iran, Marla. What Russia did say was that Iran had the right to close the Strait of Hormuz. Like, that happened. Good morning, Yvette. Hey, Cheryl. Good morning, Cat Songbird. Good morning, folks. So they did say that, but we're going to kind of walk through all of those things. Over here, if you guys could do me a favor, TikTok's a little mad at me, maybe because I'm not doing the matches that they keep fucking scheduling. So if you could do me a favor and like and share and help push this thing out, that would be amazing. You were sick yesterday, girl. Thank you, Carla. I appreciate it. And I'm just gonna say, whoop. Um, did I miss something? Wait, where did it go? Yes, we did, Amy. We did. It's one of the things that I mentioned. Good morning, Terry. Good to see you. So top of the morning to you folks. We are gonna make this thing happen. So a few weeks ago, no worries, Amy. I literally have been live like 5 minutes, so no worries. All right. Good morning, DJS. All right. I'm so glad it's raining and I have my windows open. And look, I have my incense already burned out. Like I just need to, right? Thank you, Cam. I appreciate it. Oh, wait, I do want to tell you all this. So for those of you all who are in Project for the People, I created and uploaded 50 new graphics for one for each state. It is a statewide graphic and they are already in your appropriate state folders. I have to get an email out to everybody. So if you have joined and you haven't gotten your link to have access to the Google Drive, don't worry. It is coming today. Okay. But so here's the graphic that I designed and uploaded yesterday. So what it does is it tells you like of that particular state, what percentage of the working adults on Medicaid in that state are working age adults, what percentage of them are actually working. And then right underneath it, it also shows you what percentage of disabled adults Medicaid covers, right? And so this is really important. So let's just say, for example, you're in a state, and I love that witch. So let's just say that you're in a state where what it would say is 70% of Tennessee Medicaid recipients, right, work. And then below it, it would also say Medicaid also covers 40% of adults with disabilities, right? So it's to show you that what you're thinking is you need to remember that there are people that are on disability. There are people that are children. There are people that are elderly. And even though they are of the working age, they cannot work. And so these are graphics that I did for every single state. So good morning, Nance. So if you are in a state that it's just like your state only has like one congressional district, right? Then it's going to be there as soon as you log in. But if it's not, then you're going to see it it's going to say, for example, it might say Colorado statewide graphics and it's a folder and it would be in that folder. Okay. So hopefully that helps. I did get those up for everybody. I think I was working till almost midnight last night to get those done, but they are done. They are in your corresponding folders. So feel free to go wild with them. Tips for posting. Don't just use our two hashtags, right? So we want to make sure that we use the hashtag Project for the People, but we also want to make sure that we use the hashtag making America truly great, right? And then you can also hashtag your state. You can hashtag like Medicaid. You can hashtag healthcare. You can hashtag other things. You just want to make sure that you use those two hashtags along with other things in order to get them pushed out. Another thing that you can do is actually tag the location and make your location your state so that you will see. Yeah, my post was at 11:55. Told you. So yeah, exactly, Kat. So all of that is there for you. And so I'm excited about that. But we're going to get into some conversations today. And I'm going to, hey, good morning, Miguel. I'm going to just go over exactly what I intended to communicate with this graphic, right? And so what I wanted to communicate, and I hope you all got, he can do that, Cam, take care of your daddy. Good morning, Alicia. So I wanted to, you were awake wondering why I was up. Girl, I was working, right? They have, Jamie, actually, they have, and I have to calculate them. So, but let me just tell you what I wanted to communicate. So we know that because of what's going on with these three countries in the middle, right? We know that oil is is all over the place, right? We know that it's 60% higher than it was 45 days ago. We know that gas prices are higher. We know that fertilizer is higher. We know that especially diesel is higher, right? And we know that farmers are struggling. Farmers were struggling because of tariffs, and now they're struggling because of tariffs, the cost of fertilizer and the cost of diesel. We know that we are still paying for exorbitantly high groceries, and that's going to, probably continue to rise a little bit. And then we still have love for our Palestinian folks because although there is a supposed ceasefire, right, Gazans are still being killed every single day. And so in the midst of all of those things, the president of the United States and members of Congress thinks that we should have a ballroom fucking dripping in gold. And so that's what I wanted. That is what I wanted this to communicate. And I wanted to sincerely ask the question, are we winning yet? Because I don't feel that we are. I don't feel that we are winning in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think that there's a single person in this country that can name one single thing that has happened that is good for the country. And if you believe that you can, then you are welcome to come on up here, right? Because what has now happened is we have had members of Congress that have now introduced legislation because they want taxpayers to now fund this fucking ballroom. I don't know if you all know that. Except, Matt, they aren't. I don't know if you saw it or not, but a court just ruled against the president of the United States and said that he cannot stop people that are seeking asylum. So no, the border is not closed, never has been closed. Neither has it ever been opened. It's been a border. So Matt, if you want to have that conversation with me, beloved, feel free to come on up to the panel. You can do that, right? What I would say to you is don't be a keyboard warrior, right? Like if you believe what you are saying is accurate and true, then you can come up here to the panel and let's have that conversation. I will have an in-depth conversation with you about the border and about immigration right now, this moment, I promise. Good. Yeah, right, exactly. And I'm happy to talk to you about Obama and Iran and quote unquote pallets of cash. We can do that too. Good morning, Raymond. Are you coming, Matt? I just want to check and see. You are unable to speak. You are mute, but thanks for being insensitive. I'm not being insensitive by giving you an invitation. Stop with that foolishness. Stop with that foolishness. And so are you telling me that you don't have a device on your phone? You don't use the accessibility feature? Is that what you're saying, Matt? Is that what you're saying, Matt? I'm just asking. Yeah. So it's really, I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. Yeah. RBT, you can come on up in here too. Well, no, deep fry. He said that he said that he's mute, meaning that he can't speak. Good morning, Christopher Noble. Good morning, Auntie Tinker. Good morning. And so for the delicate individual in the chat, right? A woman speaking assertively is not anger. So if it's too harsh for you, feel free to go to another live. If you're so delicate that you can't handle an assertive tone, then feel free to go somewhere else. I'm just saying, Question about Palestine. There's a bill being introduced to give Israel the money to help Palestine. That money will not help Palestine. That there will be no money from Israel that goes to help Palestinians. If you are talking about a bill that will that the United States of America and the other countries that have contributed to the Board of Peace or whatever, it's bullshit. There will never ever be money that comes from Israel that is to the benefit of Palestine. That's just simply not a thing. Yeah. And so you get a firm ass block button. Do, 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 do. Right there. There you go. So don't even talk back to that little troll that was in here that used the eradicate word. He can't answer you. He's already blocked. Yeah, Kat, I figured as much as well. But I'm not gonna, if somebody says they have a disability, then I'm just gonna take them at their word. And then here's my thing, right? Is because this is my thing. If someone is pretending to have a disability when they don't have one, they're gonna have enough karma on their own. I don't even need to say anything. Like whether he's really mute or not, I'm not gonna say anything about it, because if he is someone that has that type of character where he would pretend to be disabled, then he's got enough karma coming his way that I don't even need to participate. So yeah, just saying. All right. So listen up, folks. Let's talk about where we are this morning. So just saying, right? So a couple of weeks ago, China had presented a proposal, and it's very similar to the one that Iran sent this morning. Okay. And what China had said was, listen, why don't the United States of America simply end the naval blockade? Why doesn't Iran open the Strait of Hormuz, and we can leave the rest of the conversation about enriched uranium and nuclear capacity for another day? So let those two things be enough to end the quote unquote war, right? And then we can meet later on to discuss what we're going to do about enriched uranium and nuclear capacities, which I think is smart and wise, right? Yeah, Deborah, I'll ask him. He came once before, but I will ask him and see. So Iran kind of worded that around, and they sent that proposal to the United States of America. Okay. And I immediately wanted to see what the president of the United States had to say about that, because what he posts on social media will have a direct impact as to what Iran does or doesn't do. Okay. And I think that everyone should have learned this by now. They have said that they will not bow to him and they will not be bullied by him. Good morning, Taryn. Good morning, Invisible String, right? So all he has to do is practice diplomacy. All he has to do is say, Iran has sent a proposal. We are considering it. It looks like it is an equitable solution to the matter, blah, 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 whatever. But that's not what he did. Good morning, State. That's not what he did. Here's what the president of the United States thought was a good idea, and what he thought was a good response to receiving this proposal from Iran. Good morning, David. He said, quote, Iran has just informed us that they are in a quote unquote state of collapse. They want us to quote unquote open the strait as soon as possible as they try to figure out their leadership situation, in parentheses, which I believe they will be able to do. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Good morning, Mary Shaw. I haven't seen you in a minute, so hope all is well. Good morning, Rebel. So let me just tell you what, Iran, as soon as he said, Iran has told us they are in a state of collapse, Iran is going to say, go fuck yourself. No, we're not. Right? And as soon as he says, they've said, right, he's such a liar. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter what happens. Like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, this won't end well, because Iran has said, you will not bully us. You will not lie. You will not say that we've said things that we didn't say. And we're good to sit on this shit for a minute. Right? Hey, Carl, good morning. And I don't know why people don't understand this. They are a people that is willing to hurt. They are a people that is willing to hurt. They have been hurting their entire lives. Whenever Iran has existed outside of what the West desires for them to do, we have sanctioned the shit out of them and kept their funds. So these are people that are used to suffering. And you can best believe they will not be bullied by this president of the United States. It's not going to happen. Salam Allah Shak Shak, Titan move. And so why people don't understand this, I don't know. Well, let me just say this. I believe that many people do understand it. I believe that the current president of the United States of America is incapable of understanding this. I do not believe that he has the capacity to understand. Good morning, David Jenkins. You're ready. Well, Chad, let's talk about it. You've got enough followers to join the live. Chad, come, let's talk about it. He said everything is fine. Come on, Chad. I really would like to have a respectful conversation with you. Let's talk about how everything is fine. I sent you a direct invitation, Trad. Good morning, Angel. Right, Tammy. Yeah, and the true player, let's talk about that too. I'm game for that. If you would like to discuss President Obama, then we can do that with regard to Iran. We can do that. Alito, you can do that as well. I literally have sent all three of you guys an invitation to join the panel.
Yeah, hello.
Good morning, Alito. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. So you said, so you rather make a deal with them to enrich their dangerous potential. So hold on one second. So the proposal that is on the table, right, that came through this morning.
Obama did, right?
Alito, hold on for a second. Just I like to have respectful conversations. Alito, if you look right up here, so you are going to shut up for a moment, sir, because I like things to be respectful here. If you look right up here, it says be respectful, don't use slurs, right? Don't spam the comments. And don't. No, I'm not. I literally am trying to have a conversation with you and you are interrupting me. Don't do that. We are both adults. Let's have the conversation.
Name it. Be decent and name it. What's on the table? Obama's deal? Just say it like that.
Because it's not Obama's deal. And if you would shut up and start interrupting me, I would tell you what the deal is.
Go ahead.
That's literally what I was saying, right? So if you had just shut up, if you had just shut up, sir, shut up.
Who made the deal?
Come back when you learn how to listen. Come back when you can be an adult. I'm not doing that today. You know what? The thing that's so sad about this, good morning, Jody, is that you're supposed to be a grown man. You're supposed to be a grown man to have real conversations about what's happening in this country. And you act like a fucking middle schooler. My grandchildren behave better than you. No, I'm not wrong. I'm accurate. You're not. And it's just that simple. Right? No kidding. My grandchildren behave better than you. No, I don't mute when I'm wrong. I mute when you won't shut up and be respectful. That's it. Be respectful. So let me show you how it works in my space, folks. When Alito decides that Alito can follow the guidelines for being on my panel, then Alito will be unmuted. Until such time as that exists and he demonstrates that capacity, Alito will be in the comments muted. Not because Alito is correct about anything, but because Alito doesn't know the things that we teach kindergartners. We literally teach our children to be respectful. We teach them, don't interrupt. Don't speak when others are speaking, right? We don't. We teach them that. And the fact that he behaves in such a way that he would not want his children to behave just tells you what the issue is, right? He has no clue whether I'm right or wrong because he wouldn't shut the fuck up. So you can just now sit there and be muted because you're being rude. So, folks, if you are new to my space, let me share with you how I do things here before I open my panel back up. Okay. If you look right up here, it says be respectful. That's number one. It says don't use slurs of any kind. And that, listen, I mean that whether it's from the right or for the left, it doesn't matter who you are. Someone came in my space last week using a slur towards the president and they got blocked because I don't do slurs at all. Number three, don't spam the comments. In other words, don't say the same thing 50, 1,100 times because it's not good for conversation and it's bad for the algorithm. And then last is don't type in all caps. And that one seems like really minor. But the reason why it's incredibly important is because I have subscribers and followers that I know are vision impaired. Okay. And those folks are, the all caps is reserved for those folks. So just be respectful of people with disabilities. Titan, stop. You are literally you are typing on the computer. Stop, son. You have to go. So that's the way that I do things. All right. Mods, if Chad doesn't get in the request queue in about 60 seconds, go ahead and put Chad on mute as well because Chad's had an invitation. So if Chad really wants to talk to me, then Chad can come up on the panel. Okay. Love that. Okay. I am okay. I am okay setting boundaries and enforcing them. So hope you're ready for that. All right. Now, folks, when I open my panel up, what I would like for you to do is put yourself on mute until I get to you. Okay? Got it. Here we go. And for the person in the chat that said non-combat veteran, 85% of the U.S. military is non-combat. So miss me with the bullshit. Here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to go to combat without your medics. I would like for you to go to combat without your supply chain. I would like for you to go to combat without your intelligence. I would like for you to go to combat without your comms. I would like for you to go to combat without logistics. Go to combat without any of those things. Dumbass. Go ahead. Anyway, whew. All right. So here we go. Good morning, Darnell. How are you?
Good morning, Dani. I'm fine. I just really came up to give you some flowers because I think we're dealing with like the dregs of MAGA a lot of times in these spaces. And I've been saying this for a while, right? Cognitive dissonance is what we're dealing with a lot of times because there is a right and a wrong in all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens, especially with you give the information, and on one side of their brain, they're hearing the information, but the other side of the brain is like combating it because they're lost in the sauce, right? But deep down inside, they know what's wrong, right? They know it feels bad, and that's what leads to the crash out. Because that's one of the symptoms of cognitive dissonance. You just can't formulate cogent thought, and you lash out.
Yep.
And I want to thank you for the work you put in. It's a beautiful thing. I have to take breaks from TikTok because it gets in my spirit. And you know, and but I have used a couple of clips of you to educate my children in regards to like this is how you conduct yourself. And telling them you don't fall for the foolery and don't speak on stuff you don't know. Right. And it's okay to say, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. You know, and I think there's a lesson for some of these MAGA men in particular, right? Yeah. Which bothers me. It bothers me. You're a veteran. I'm retired 23 years, and my last years were concentrated mainly on like growing leaders. You know how it goes.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Growing leaders.
Yeah. And right. a lot of them don't know how to lead.
Trying to teach these civilians, teaching civilians, how leaders listen more. They speak because they get the information they need to make best decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that they get the new information, but they want to accept the new information to help them make better decisions. And I find that saddening, really. But I just wanted to thank you, man. I think you're doing a beautiful thing.
Well, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for the flowers this morning. Okay, appreciate you. Thanks, Darnell.
All right.
So, let me just, Michelle, don't engage with oilfield trucker. Oilfield trucker about to find out what life is like, because if that name is his industry, oilfield trucker about to find out what life is really like. Go ahead, keep talking shit, Mr. Oilfield trucker. You're about to find out what life is like. And I'm sorry to be laughing, but you about to know. FAFO. All right. Okay. So, like I was sharing earlier, okay. So this is good morning, Teresa. This is a similar proposal that that China said a few weeks ago, and to me, this is smart because here's what this did. It would have allowed the Trump administration to save face and just exit out without giving up anything, right? Without having to admit defeat, without having to do anything different, right? All they had to do was say, cool, you open the strait, we will remove the Navy blockade, right? That's all they would have had to do. And then they would have said, hey, we're gonna reserve the talks for we're gonna reserve the talks about enriched uranium and nuclear capacity and nuclear ability for a different day, for another conversation. And that would have been the smartest resolution for this period of time, right? Jedi, we'll see. But the fact that, right, Darnell, the fact that Trump immediately took himself to Truth Social to claim that Iran said that they were in a state of collapse is just wild to me, because that is immediately going to mean no resolution. Immediately, no resolution is going to happen. And for anybody that is getting it twisted, right? Anybody that is getting it twisted, you need to understand that the IRGC is running Iran. They have a civilian side and then they have a military side. That military side, which is run by the IRGC, that's who calls the shots. And nothing happens from that strait unless the IRGC says that it happens. So the more that he says these dumb things, these things that are not accurate, to try to boast to his base, the longer that people are going to be in this situation. And I don't know if you've seen the last video that Mr. Global put up, but he put up, Darnell, Mr. Global put up a video, and he had a chart behind him from back in the 70s when we had the big oil crash. And he said, so listen to what he said. He said, everything didn't crash until 6 and 9 months after it was over. And he said, so for all of you people that are going along like everything is fine, because everything is kind of fine right now, right? You all keep going on like that. Keep going on like that. He said, but for those of you all who know what's up and that it's not fine, I'm not worried about y'all. Go ahead and start making your provisions. And that's what people don't understand. Go ahead, Darnell. You wanted to jump in here?
Yeah, this is where our media fails us, right? And this administration, because they fired everybody who knows how the world works, right?
Yep.
People don't understand that the IRGC, the only rigged to do is bipolar. And the way it's set up,
you're breaking up a little bit.
in their best interest. Let me get to a better spot.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Is that any better?
Yep.
Okay. So what's not being reported or informed to people is the when the IRGC. Oh, did you see when they met for the first time in Pakistan, and all of these leaders from Iran showed up with, and there was J.D. Vance, Jared Kushner, and Steve
Witkoff,
right?
Yep.
So all those Iranian people who showed up, they were the leaders of the IRGC. And you can't talk shit to these people.
Nope.
Because if the Ayatollah don't tell them to back down, they're not.
Correct.
So Trump wants to tell his people who are ill-informed,
yep,
that we hold the cards.
And we don't.
And we don't. And we don't. And like I said earlier, we're dealing with the dregs of MAGA. They won't read anything. They do me search instead of research.
Me search.
Because they need to maintain their cognitive bias in the face of what is obviously wrong.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier, man. I feel, well, I have faith now because so many people are being hurt.
Yeah.
That the midterms are going to show.
They are.
Even Fox News polls are shows his approval rating at 30-some%, and like Mr. Global, I'm glad people mention him. He's been talking about, I've been following him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I say 90% of what he said, over 90% of what he said, has come to fruition.
Yeah.
And people need to listen to people who know, people who do the research, and share the new information. For
people who do not know, Mr. Global is an oil and gas expert, internationally known. He is he actually helped write a lot of the global policy for Shell Corporation. He now owns his own oil and gas company. He was here with me a few weeks ago. I'm going to try to get him back. But I recommend for everybody to follow him because I do. And I have since I got on this app going live, which is the end of July, 2024. And that's why he knows what he knows, is because this is his industry. And I heard some people going, he's never been on an oil rig. No, because he was writing y'all's policy and handling the money side of things. You might know how to do an oil rig. That's not necessary to know what he knows. And so, I really want people to understand. And since you're up here, Darnell, you spent 23 years in the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with me? Because I am of the opinion that people in the United States of America do not understand that the people in the Middle East are very different than we are in terms of their commitment to their land, to their country, to their identity, all of those types of things. And they are willing to suffer in a way that people in the United States of America, the vast majority, are not.
I totally agree. And this is where I hate to bring up white supremacy and imperialism. But there's a certain amount of arrogance, hubris that's demonstrated to the rest of the world. And because Americans in general live in this bubble, we don't know other cultures and we don't know how other people live. And as you said, how other cultures, because they've been caught up in the struggle, just like Black people.
Yeah.
We've been caught up in the struggle and we understand and know how to navigate difficult times.
Yeah.
And we have the Persians who fought off Genghis Khan. They've been doing this shit
their whole lives
before we were a goddamn country.
Yes.
And because people, again, blame our education system and blame the media.
So you know what? I do. And so yesterday I had a prompt that I didn't get to. I do want to talk about the media. I do want to talk about journalism because I think that journalism as we knew it when we were young, I think that type of journalism is dead. I think that the only like semblance of it that you get are in independent people that are on TikTok or Substack or whatever. But in terms of organized journalism, hey Wasim, in that way, I think it's just gone, right? And but so you know what? Let me tell you. But if we talk about the education, then you have no choice but to talk about white supremacy. You have no choice because then you have to go back to the Daughters of the Confederacy. You have to go back to the people that influenced Ghislaine Maxwell's daddy, the people who actually made our textbooks and determined what was going to be in our education system. So the reason our education system supports that white supremacist ideology and a lack of historical context from other cultures and other countries and other people is because they determined what was going to be in the education and they wrote it in such a way that it is what it is. And so, you know, I think regardless of what we come back to, it has to come back to that. And so people don't want to hear that. And let me just be clear, I would love for you to not have to hear it. But unfortunately, I have to say it to you because you refuse to hear it for your damn self.
You know, George Carlin warned us years ago. He told us that our education system is about producing obedient workers who are willing to accept the bullshit, basically.
Yep. They want you to be the worker for the billionaires that already exist. They have no desire to teach you how to be them. They want to teach you how to work for them.
Work for them. Make them rich.
Yes.
You know, and that's where we are now, where there's a segment of people who are on the right in particular who don't get that the 1% Occupy Wall Street tried to warn us about them. Bernie Sanders has been talking about them
his whole life,
since the 80s, you know, and they don't get that our divides that we have been manufactured.
Yes.
If you tap into people's racism, you tap into what motivates conservative minds, which is fear and loathing. You give them something to be afraid of, and some particular group to like look down on and hate, and you can control your thought processes.
It's exactly so. And it's funny because somebody in the chat was trying to be whatever and talking about what did LBJ say? What did LBJ say about black people? My thing is, what did LBJ say about white people? He said that give a white person someone to look down on and he won't notice he said, if you can make the lowest white man believe that he's better than the best black man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. And then he said, hell, give him someone to look down on and he will empty his pockets for you. That's literally what he said.
Yeah. And you know what was the perfect observation of that is what happened with President Obama.
Yep. 100%.
There was so much hatred that was stirred up, particularly from Fox News. I blame Fox News.
Fox Entertainment.
Fox Entertainment, yeah. Because deep down inside, there's a segment of the population that is resentful of black people who have made it.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone through it where, check the story. Check the story. This is really funny. So I had moved into this neighborhood. It was like a new area. Everybody had like 2 acres of land and all that. And I built a granny flat out back and everything. And I had movers move my stuff in. Then I had cleaners come and set my house up. And my neighbors didn't know who was moving in. So one day,
I already know.
I I went to the house, and you know how some of these houses are where you pull into the garage and you like never see your neighbors, right? So I pulled up at the house. I went in, parked my car in the garage, and I had bought this microwave to put in the granny flat. So I went to the granny flat with this microwave, and one of my neighbors saw me. Call the police.
I knew it. I knew it.
Police showed up. They were all in their bully mode and all this, and asking me questions. I'm like, I don't answer questions.
Because I don't got to.
How do you get the money to have a car like this? I don't answer questions.
Right.
And for quite a while, I could tell my neighbors had a problem with me being there because they thought they had escaped us or something.
Yeah. Right.
And that's that deep-seated thing that haunts us in this country.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And people want to act like it doesn't still exist, but it does. And we see it all the time. And the thing, like, okay, so let me just be clear. One of the things that they hated about Barack and Michelle is they could never bring them down.
Yeah.
They could never bring them down. And sometimes it's important for people to understand. Sometimes all they want is for you to react so that they can say you are who we've always said you were. And they could never do that, right? And how dare them not only be in the White House, but she got the nerve to be a damn lawyer like him and smarter than the majority of the people that work for him, right? And so that is part of what really irked people, even if they couldn't name it. And this is what I really want some people to understand, especially white people, right? What I really want white Americans to understand is that I am not saying that each of you is covertly aware of your bias, of your prejudice, of your bigotry. I don't like Ta-Nehisi Coates. I said this yesterday. Ta-Nehisi Coates said it so beautifully. He said, listen, nobody set you down when you were born, white people, and said you have privilege. He said, that's not what he said. You just got to walk around through life and people accommodated you. Right. So your privilege just showed up. It just showed up for you. Nobody had to tell you that you had it. So it's just something that everybody accommodated you. And he said, so the thing is when you get confronted, right, Dizzy, it's the default. And he said, and so when you get confronted with the fact that you have it, your initial reaction to that is, well, no, I don't, because maybe you're thinking I never asked for it or nobody ever treated me special. That's because you don't know. It's the way you've been treated your whole last life. You've been special since the day I started to say something. I really did, had to catch it. You have been treated special since the day, right? White women, you are delicate, right? That's the thing, that they're tender, they're delicate, they hurt more, they whatever. What do they say about Black women? They're aggressive, they're loud, they're this, they're that. So like, you don't know because you don't know. And so here's the thing that I'm saying to you. If you are a white person who is hearing us talk in this conversation and you are feeling resistance to it, if you are feeling offended by it, if you are feeling a little defensive, like, what do you mean? Then that is a key. That is yourself, your inner wisdom letting you know you got work to do. And the key is don't run from that, right? Don't run from it. Lean into it and say, okay, I need to know more. This is one of the things that I challenge myself with, right? Whenever I feel some kind of way about something that somebody said, the first thing I ask myself, okay, is why am I feeling this way? Is there thinking the way I'm thinking? Yes. Is there something here for me? Right? Is there something that is in there that I haven't dealt with, that I haven't acknowledged, that I haven't done the work around? And that's the thing that many people don't desire to do. But it's so necessary.
It creates discomfort.
Morning, Irvette.
I have an interesting story. That's something you just made me think of. So I have quite a large extended family, right? a lot of women and young girls. And a few weeks back, well, let me preface this. So on one side of my family, well, we have mixed race children whose dad, where their grandparents are part black, part white, and then the children are their parents are mixed, and then they had like white fathers or black fathers, and they present those ways. So one of my little nieces, she went missing a few weeks back.
Oh shit!
She like left home, and her and one of her friends, they were supposed to be going shopping or some stuff, went missing. And this is where how she presents saved her. Right?
Yep.
Her brother
H-hands
is a sheriff. And they found her. I live in South Carolina, and they live in Virginia. They found her in Charleston within a week.
Damn.
At a home for runaways that had been being investigated for trafficking.
Wow.
Right? And because of how she presents and who she was connected to, DHS was involved, FBI was involved, and they found her within a week.
That's amazing, because typically after that 72-hour mark, it doesn't happen, and if it does happen, it's bad. And so for everybody that is in here, so when we were growing up, we used the term mixed all the time, right? And
biracial, I should say.
Yep. So biracial when we talking about two races, and interracial when we talking about multiple races, right? And so very, very glad. But again, one of the things that comes with that language, Darnell, right, is when they use that language where they would say you're mixed, right? Because they always thought that was like it was like a mutt. It was like a lowering of the white status, the white blood. You know what I mean? And so I think that language was intentional. Alaikum salam, Abu Saraj. And so, so I just wanted for everybody to be clear, we use the language biracial and interracial or multiracial, right? In this day. So I just want to point out how the language has progressed, right, Jedi, the one drop rule, 100%. Because and I laugh because, so I'm on TikTok. So my phone's camera is different than my camera that's on my computer, right? And so my computer camera, it makes everything lighter. Like my sweatshirt looks almost like a dark gray on the computer. On here, it looks black. So you can see my actual skin tone on TikTok. Over here, I look much lighter than over here. And, people don't understand that you might not know exactly what I am, right? Good morning, Marilyn, because I've had people ask me, what are you, right? You might not know what I am. What you know for sure, though, is I ain't white, right? That's the one you might not know. Listen, I have had people ask me, am I saying I look Indian? People have said I look, you name it. Listen, and if I take my ass to Texas or Florida or California, they be like, habla español. Listen, habla español un poquito, because listen, I'll never forget the first time I was down in El Paso, and a Hispanic dude came up to me and he was, I said, hey, right? You're doing the most, Chief. I can't. And so, but this is a thing that people, we have to become aware. And this is where I get excited about where we are. And what I think is the most beneficial for us is to be able to have these conversations. It's why yesterday I was talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, and why demonizing it, attacking it, is actually bad for the country and it's bad for the world. Because without those things around us, we lose the ability to see things from other perspectives and other experiences. And when we can see them from other people's perspective and other people's experiences, that is when we grow in our understanding. And the more we grow in our understanding, the more connected we will be as human beings, and it will work, right? So yeah.
The last election, I had high hopes for the Gen Z generation and their engagement, because they're not caught up in the old bullshit to do with race and ethnicity,
right,
and what's your pronoun. They're not caught up in that culture war bullshit,
right.
But many of them didn't turn out because of Palestine, I believe.
I think there were many reasons. I don't think it was just Gaza. I think that was part of it, and it was part of, it was part of what we saw most on the media, right? But I mean, I just need people to think about. We have been living in this hostile political climate for a decade. In the middle of that, we also had a global pandemic. These children that were 18 in 2024, right? Go back to 2020. They were 14. They were 13 and 14 when that global pandemic was happening. And so I think that they are entering the political world at a time that it's like, damn, do I even want to participate in that? Right. Or I'm too busy trying to figure out how I'm going to afford college, or if I'm going to be able to get a house, or if I'm going to be able, to whatever. And so I think that there's a multitude of reasons why people didn't turn out. 80 million people, over 80 million people. And let me be clear, that's just the people that were registered to vote that didn't vote. That's not everybody that is of voting age that didn't vote. That's just the registered people that were registered to vote. I wanted to invite the Nikon Nomad up because you said something in the chat that I wanted to make sure that we just didn't step over, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to address it in the conversation. So I sent you an invitation, Nikon Nomad, to join the panel. Did you see the invitation, Nikon? Because I don't see you in the queue. Oh, but I did send you an invitation. Well, if you're here, say something in the chat so that I can see that you're still here. Because I would like to have a conversation around what you said. Okay. But I want to play something for everybody. I've played it before, and I'm going to share it again. It is 6 minutes long, but it is worth the watch. And it's incredibly important. Exactly, Chance. So Chance over here on Facebook said, which is why they never saw Obama as them, as if he was hatched and his mother wasn't a white woman, a U.S. citizen. There's always I didn't know you were black. When many white people meet people that they assume are white until they see their parents. 100%. Yeah. And the thing about Barack Obama, good morning, Tiffany, is he was able to do what so many other presidents have to work at. He's just naturally who he is, right? And I think that was also challenging for people to see. And not only that he was elected, but damn it, he was elected twice. And I think that was a wake up call of sorts for white wealthy men in this country. Yeah.
He demonstrated his competence.
Yes. And how dare we be that?
Yeah, it was on full display.
Yeah. Yeah.
His grasp of policy, how kind of like unthinking he was, and the feeling of optimism that always kind of oozed out of him.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to. Here's the thing, Dan. We don't know one another in this country.
Right.
We don't spend time, getting to know others.
Right.
And that plays into all this like bullshit that we.
Yeah.
If you don't know a gay person or someone who's in the LGBTQIA community, if you don't know them and like talk with them, discover who they are, have them answer some of the questions that you may have about what their quote unquote lifestyle, so you can discover it's not a lifestyle. If you don't have these conversations, if you don't know, if you work somewhere and there's somebody Black in the office that you get along with, and you get along with them, and they invite you to the cookout, and you discover, damn, I got brought to this cookout. I'm the only white person here, and everybody is cool with me.
Yeah.
People want to get to know me because that's kind of who we are.
And then they taught your ass the electric slide.
I retired, and I went to the corporate world for like a brief period.
Yeah.
And I worked for Halliburton for a little bit.
Oof.
And I ran into trouble with them, with my colleagues, because management, we don't do shit really.
Right.
We brainstorm stuff and just make sure people doing and then we go do golf. They go do golf.
Just saying.
I wouldn't go play golf with the motherfuckers. So it's like, well, why did you come golfing? Because I don't like y'all like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have no interest in hanging out with y'all.
Right.
And then that that started their attempts to undermine what I was doing, and I was very good at my job because I come out the military. You have a mindset.
Yeah.
How do I make this shit work?
Yeah.
How do I inspire people to follow?
Yes.
And they couldn't undermine me. And in the end, I got so frustrated. I was like, you know what? I don't have to be here.
Right.
I thought when I came here, I had something to contribute to move the whole thing forward. But y'all are working against me. I don't have to be here, so I'm out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, And this is the kind of poisons. These are the things that poison our community as far as working class people.
Mm-hmm.
Identifying with one another that we have more in common than we have apart. Right? Yeah. Because we don't do that, we can't coalesce around the rich people are screwing us over.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when we get into the like politics side of things, right? We've gotten to this point in this country where it's the politics of personality.
Yeah.
Instead of what are the policies that are being presented or proposed that might advance my situation.
So what I say to people is politics is policy that impacts people. That's it. That's all politics. It's the policy that impacts people. And so that's what we need to be concerned about, right? And the thing that I was going to say about you is they're upset is, hey, we were allowing you to be part of the club, and the idea that we gave you an invitation and you didn't want it, right? That's what they were offended by, because you should be grateful that we invited you to the club. You should be grateful. And so, one of the things that I struggle with sometimes now, especially now, right? Because it used to be when I would hear people talk about how integration was bad for Black people and how we need to segregate again and all of that, I automatically was like, no, right? Because I want this whole kumbaya, whatever kind of moment. And the reality is Black people were better off when we were by ourselves. Like we had our own banks, and we had Black Wall Street, and we had our own businesses, and we had our own whatever, and we had our own education systems. And the problem, so here's where I think integration failed everyone. Okay. So I believe that integration failed white people because there was no preparation. There was no segue into the integration. It was just like one day we're all white, the next day we're everybody. And there was no education. There was no getting to know each other. There was no anything. And it was like, you don't like it, we don't give a shit. Here's Black people, right? And there was no truth, there was no reconciliation, there was no anything. And then I think it was not, so listen, you cannot teach children that you don't understand. You know what I mean? That you can't relate to. And then for Black people, right? it threw us into environments where we knew for sure, especially in the South, that we were not wanted, right? So put a child in that environment, and it is very difficult for them to excel, even if they're giving the quote unquote opportunity, because it's not going to be the same opportunity as anyone else. Like I listened to one of the white teachers say, "Listen, all the other teachers quit." She said, I was the only teacher. You know what I mean? Because nobody else, they all refused to teach Black children. And so I think civil rights was great because it changed laws. And we have to change hearts and minds at the same time that we change laws, or no matter what the laws are, the people that implement, oversee, and enforce those laws will do so based on their prejudice and their bias, and it won't make a damn bit of difference. And you can see that in our criminal justice system. You can see that in our banking systems, right? Why are we still having settlements from huge banks in 2025 and 2026? Because they are practicing discrimination within their home loans. Because no matter what the law says about those systems, the people that are implementing them are still implementing them based on their lens and how they see things. And so until we reconcile all of that, right, redlining in real estate, gerrymandering in politics, like all of the things. That's why I bought the book, the Long Southern Strategy, because it still exists to this day. And it exists greatly. And Chance, you're correct, right? We talk about this over here, and people don't like to talk about it because he's talking about the age cost. And he was like, and while we should acknowledge the loss, right? We also need to remember that where Germany learned their behavior was from the United States of America. It was how it was how we treated Black people in this country, that they learned their tactics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
you know what, Dani?
Go ahead.
We all said about the Truth and Reconciliation.
Mm-hmm.
That came into a couple of people's minds right away. I started in the comments as I was making notes, right? Because we didn't have Truth and Reconciliation, and all of a sudden, legal racism got outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think after it got outlawed that it kind of like just disappeared.
No.
And I think back to I grew up in Chicago. I went to high school in the 70s,
Tennessee too.
The late 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they were still like expanding the school busing and all that, right?
Yep.
So I transferred from a private school to back into the public school system in my sophomore year. And I went to this school, and there were 9 minority students that were there.
Mm-hmm.
My first year there. The first day of school, Dani, they burned a cross on the 50-yard line of our practice football field. Right?
Yep.
And I went to school with some of these people. And as I grew up remembering these people,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know what? I wonder who these people are today.
Mm-hmm.
They're realtors, they're in police, they're judges and lawyers, they're in the fire department.
Bristol.
These people who grew up racist
mm-hmm.
are in part of the system.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to understand what systemic racism is and how it is sustained because of who is in there.
Yeah.
It's hard. And as you were saying, these the systemic racism lives in, like, racism in finance you just brought up.
Yeah.
People can look this stuff up because it's been written about for like years.
Yeah.
Racism in finance, racism in education, racism in medicine. And we see it in the mortality rates of Black women. Yep. Who are childbearing. Like you said about the people getting sued. Mm-hmm. If you look up racism in auto finance, you can see the companies who have been sued because their finances, steered people into bad loans and things like that.
Yeah.
A funny story about that. I went to buy a car when I got back. I'm in the finance office trying to work out a deal, and the finance officer offered me this. I had good credit, so I know I should get a good rate.
Right.
He offered me this rate. I said, "Hang on a minute. I'll be right back." I went out and called my bank, USAA.
Yeah.
I'm at the dealership and I'm looking at this car. Blah 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 blah. What can I get? They offered me an interest rate that was far below what I got offered. I said, "So what do I need to do to get this
finance through you?
Have them, fax this information, blah blah blah." So I went back and I said, "I need you to fax this information to my bank." And I bought the car outside of what the dealership offered, right? But if I was in the right mind, I said, I should sue them.
Yeah.
It was obvious that to me, that if I had been a white person,
yeah,
I wouldn't have got offered that deal.
Right.
When I was living in the UK, my neighbors were kind of funny because they would see me with a new car about every 18 months. They didn't know I was leasing.
Right.
So I was leasing, Mercedes-Benz and BMW. It's Audi. I would go to the Audi dealership, Dani. The salesman wouldn't even come out. They wouldn't even come out.
Yeah, because there ain't no way you can afford it.
You can't afford this.
Right.
Afford this. And I was living in the UK, so I know that shit was happening here.
Yeah.
The same shit was happening here. But, all this stuff, man, if we don't spend time with it, within ourselves and our white and Hispanic friends, explore the history of all this stuff and see how these things are negatively impacting all of us, because racism hurts everybody.
It does.
And it keeps poor people poor.
It does. And poor people of all colors. Poor people, it keeps poor people poor across the board. Yeah. And I just don't think that people really understand. And here's the thing that's wild is like you and I can have this conversation, and I can have these types of conversations even with white people in the face of their cognitive dissonance, right? A lot of my friends are like, "Girl, I don't know how you do it," and I'd be like, "I don't know either, shit." But I don't, but I just do, right? And what I say to Black and brown people, and what I mean is, if at any point in time having those conversations with white people becomes triggering or traumatizing, bow out, because it's not your responsibility, number one, right? It's not your responsibility, number one. And number two, never add more on you for the sake of someone that's not willing to do it themselves, right? Hey, Doug, I'm just saying, because here's the thing. If I tell you, so one of the things that I do when white people start to ask me about racial things, this is what I will say to them typically. I will say, so here's what I would like for you to do. First, I would like for you to go watch the documentary 13th. And if you have Netflix, you can watch it on Netflix. And if you don't, it's free on YouTube, right? You go watch that documentary and then come back to me. And if they never come back, I'm not wasting my time on you, because I gave you a resource and I told you where to go. I told you where you can get it for fucking free. And if you did not have the desire and the discipline to watch that one thing and come back to me, I owe you nothing else, right? Because you're not serious about what you need to learn. And then if they come back, then I give them more. Okay, so now I want you to go watch An Uncomfortable Truth. And now I want you to go watch the Khalif Browder story. And now I want you to go read The Killing of the Black Body. And now I want you to go look up Henrietta Lacks. And now I want you to go look up Dr. Mims. Now I want you to go, right? Like these are the things, if you really want to understand. Irwin, Tennessee, which is about 45 minutes from my hometown, it's still listed as a quote unquote potential sundown town today, right? And a lot of people, so there's a great book called Lies My Teacher Told Me. And the professor that wrote that book, he has He has an index. It's online. So even though he passed away in 2021, the college that he taught at, they still keep that website up to date. They still research and look for it, and they are documenting all the sundown towns that exist in the United States of America. And what they will do is they will tell you, is it still a sundown town? Is it not? Do they believe that it probably is? Like any of those types of things. And so, Chance, you know that it is, and then go on the other side of the state line, because where I'm from is Tennessee and Virginia, right? Go on over to Grundy, Virginia. When I was growing up, Grundy, Virginia had a sign at the state line that said, "If you're black, turn back." No lie. So Deb just asked me what a sundown town is, and I love the fact that you asked. So sundown towns, Deb, are towns that Black and brown people were not allowed to be in or be outside in after the sun went down. So if you were from out of town, you better be out of their damn town by the time the sun went down, or you better be in your damn house when that sun went down. Because if you out and about, you might find an oak tree and some rope, or it might find you. Yes. Like literally in the South, Deb, there are people that were walked to the state line. I mean, the town line, to the town border, and say, "Boy, yeah," because once the sun goes down, it is what it is. And so that's what a sundown town is, and they still exist today.
And I have another story. I got a million stories. So I got told about these plots of land that were being sold in Lexington, South Carolina. And I was like, oh, and let me get in on that. And so I got in, I had a nice house built, all new, solar panels, and I had an electric car. Oh, nice. And again, my neighbors didn't know me because we had like big plots of land. What I didn't know, because I didn't do my research, was it was next to a sundown town. And as I did my research, and I had started finding out when the neighbors found out I was living there, people driving up onto my drive, because my house was like behind a tree line. You had to like drive through a driveway. People driving up to my property to like look at my property, come look at my house.
Yeah.
And then of course, I start seeing all the Trump flags and all that bullshit. And I would go to the local bar and sit down amongst all these MAGA people. But I'm a sociable person, so people like me and they talk to me.
Right.
And I talk to them. But after a while, I was like, you know what? These motherfuckers don't like me.
Right.
They don't like that I know stuff. They don't like that I have money. Eventually, like last year, right before the election, I sold my house. So I had to get out of there.
Yeah. So just so people know, so where I'm from, if you go to exit 74, there's a Confederate flag so damn tall up on the top of a mound. You can see it. I mean, it's huge. And I want to say right around 2002, 2003-ish, my husband at the time, he was one of the assistant coaches at the middle school. We played in Elizabethton, Tennessee, and the white girls on the Elizabethton team were sticking their knee out and tripping our star player D, and the police had to come. I'm not kidding. Now, one of the girls on our team, her daddy worked for TBI. Tom was there. But yeah, when you talk about like this, and by the way, for those of you all who can see this map, these are sundown towns. And this is the legend, right? So the gray is don't know, the pink is possible, the light red is probable, the dark red is surely, and the darker colors are unlikely, or it's a black town or township. So these are sundown towns that have been identified by this college in their program. So yeah, folks, if you don't understand, this should be taught in schools. Everyone should know this information. So, so this is from Tougaloo. I'll put it in the link tree, but this is their program. If you just Google, all you got to do is Google Sundown Towns map, and they'll pull it right on up. But I'm going to show you why you don't know. Okay. Or part of the reason you don't know. Okay. So y'all get ready. Listen, I'm even going to wipe off my damn camera for you in case it got a little blurry. It looks like my grandbabies might have had their fingers on it. Let me see. Look at that. Look at that. It's all better. So here y'all go. You want to hear it? Here it goes. Let me make sure I turn the damn volume up. Ooh. Am I turning it up? Hold on. Why is, nope, look at me. Turning all kind of shit on over here. Okay, so hold on, y'all. I'm going to flip this up. Hold on one second. I got to make sure my volume is turned up so y'all can hear what you need to hear. There we go. I got y'all now. Okay, so here we go. All right.
Listen to how this textbook describes slavery.
The master often had a barbecue or a picnic for his slaves. Then they had a great frolic. Even while working in the cotton fields, they sang songs. The beat of the music and the richness of their voices made work seem light.
Yikes, that's from History of Georgia, a textbook published in 1954 that was taught across junior high schools in Georgia for decades. That sort of language is part of an intellectual movement called the Lost Cause, a distorted version of American Civil War history that's been prevalent in the South for a long time. It took shape soon after the defeat of the Confederate States in the war, when Southern historians like Edward Pollard and former Confederate General Jubal Early started preserving the South's perspective through their writings. They framed the Confederate cause as a heroic defense of the Southern way of life against the overwhelming forces in the North. That narrative has a few basic tenets: the glorification of Confederate soldiers who died for a cause they believed in, the belief that slavery was a benevolent institution, and maybe most importantly, that slavery was not the root cause of the war. The Lost Cause is one of the most notoriously effective efforts to rewrite history, and it was done by the losing side. So how did it become so deeply rooted in Southern memory? Blame the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
Yep. White women.
The UDC was founded in Nashville in 1894 to preserve Confederate culture for generations to come. The women who made up the group descended from elite antebellum families, and they used their social and political clout to spread the pro-Southern version of the war as real history. You've probably seen their efforts to honor the Confederacy, but maybe you didn't know it was the UDC. They're the ones who covered the Southern landscape with memorials for Confederate leaders and soldiers. They used their fundraising and lobbying skills to pressure local governments into erecting monuments in prominent public spaces like courthouses and state capitals.
Installed here next to the state capitol by the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
The United Daughters of the Confederacy donated this memorial to the city back in the 30s.
They put them along roadsides and in parks. Any place that was remotely relevant to the Confederacy was memorialized. By the early 20th century, the UDC had 100,000 members in chapters spread all over the country, but mostly in former Confederate states. And there's a reason they grew so quickly during that time.
So we're talking about roughly 3 decades after the end of the war, and the Confederate veterans themselves are beginning to die off. So there is this push to find ways to commemorate it, because the big challenge by 1900 was there's a new generation of white Southerners being born, and they never experienced the war years.
That push is visible. Most of the Confederate monuments were erected during the UDC's height of influence.
There's a rhetoric around monuments that we want to get this thing built before all of that generation has died off. And the reason we want it is to teach future generations about those men.
Dr. Karen Cox wrote the book on the UDC, and I asked her if it was fair to say the group established the Lost Cause as historical fact in the South.
Oh my God, yeah. They were the leaders of the Lost Cause into the 20th century, and they made it a movement about vindication.
Just to give you an idea of how effective they were, they successfully lobbied for a Confederate memorial in Arlington National Cemetery, which U.S. President Woodrow Wilson proudly unveiled to a cheering crowd. Now that's influence, right?
Monuments are the least of what they did.
What?
I mean, they are the most visible and tangible, but the work with children was far more influential.
It turns out, a central UDC objective is shaping how children think about the war and their Southern heritage. One of their most powerful tools? Textbooks. Take a look at this pamphlet called A Measuring Rod for Textbooks. It was written by the illustrious Southern historian Miss Mildred Rutherford, an educator, orator, and author of Southern history textbooks. She's also very pro-slavery. The pamphlet announced the formation of a textbook review committee featuring prominent Southerners like 5 former Confederate generals. This group was committed to spreading the truths of Confederate history, so they instructed school boards to reject any textbooks that did not accord full justice to the South. And they urged libraries to deface every book in their collection that didn't measure up by writing the words "unjust to the South" clearly on its cover. This pamphlet was shared widely with school boards throughout the South, and UDC-backed committees closely monitored history books to make sure Northern influence never reached classrooms. So the core language of an approved textbook aligned precisely with that of the Lost Cause. You know, stuff like,
"The Confederacy lost in the war between the states, but Georgia never forgot to honor her Confederate soldiers."
History of Georgia was on the UDC's approved list. It was also written by E. Merton Coulter, a self-described Southern historian and historian-described white supremacist.
They understand that how you educate, who wins the writing game, who wins the battle over history, ultimately wins the war. That's the big fight for the UDC.
But their work with children went further than the classrooms. The UDC formed an auxiliary group called the Children of the Confederacy, which was designed to get kids born in former Confederate states to actively participate in their version of history. Group leaders had kids recite call and response truths from something called the Confederate Catechism. Children up to the age of 18 would compete and be rewarded for memorizing long passages of Lost Cause rhetoric.
So it would be like an after-school thing, like that was your club. You would go after school to the meeting of the Children of the Confederacy, and your leader might teach you songs of the South like Dixie or other songs that were considered Southern patriotic songs. They would have them write essays, go visit the veterans, and learn this catechism.
Children were also the centerpiece of their community's monument unveilings, like this living flag at the dedication of the Stonewall Jackson Monument in Richmond. Yes, those are school children. The UDC's efforts shaped the identities of children who grew up with the Lost Cause. They made history personal, and that made their story last longer.
Generations of children learning that narrative in a variety of ways grow up to be, segregationist in the 50s and 60s, because that's been drilled into them since they were children.
After World War I, the UDC started losing steam, but the damage was done. The monuments were in place, and the textbooks they wrote remained in Southern classrooms until the late 70s. And the women's group did it all without the right to vote or participate in politics.
You can still get glimmers of this Lost Cause memory of the war from people who will always choose to see it through the personal. And I think the UDC, to a great extent, that was their goal.
So the next time someone says the Confederate monuments are about remembering our history, just know that that's exactly what the United Daughters of the Confederacy wants you to think.
So I have shared this video over years. It came out 8 years ago, and I have shared it multiple times across my social media platforms. They over here freaking out at on Facebook, and yeah. And this is what a lot of people don't know about history and how it's framed and why people think the way they think. When they say it's their heritage, that's intentional, right? That is what they want them to think, right? Because this is how Tiffany said, diabolical psychopaths. Well, maybe, but this is why I really need for people to understand that they think because nobody is walking around shackled up or picking cotton. Right. Just because y'all aren't still taking your children to the oak tree Sunday after church like it's a fucking picnic to watch people hang doesn't mean that things aren't still what they are. That video is already in my link tree. It's been there for a while, so but it's there.
I'm glad you showed that, because I'm gonna share it with my children. But this is where our education system has failed, right?
Yep.
So for years, because I was one of those rabble rousers when I my early days in the military, because I kind of grew up in the Black liberation movement in the 70s. And there's so many things that are untold, right? Within education. So if the Reconstruction era was properly taught, people can see how white supremacist doctrine got embedded in politics.
Yeah.
Right? If we talked about if racism was taught in an academic setting, people would have an understanding of what it is.
Yes.
So they'd be able to identify it. So I used to ask, someone would say, well, I'm not racist. And I would ask the question, why do you think you can identify your racism?
Right.
You can't.
Right.
You have to listen to how your words affect people. And then listen to if they like you, if they give you feedback. And you need to accept that because you're not them. So it's so much history that if it was told properly, we could probably get to the truth and reconciliation that we need to have, because there would be a wider understanding of how we got here.
Yeah. So this is an educator, and I love to talk about her because number one, she is white. And she gives some of the most simple discussions and explanations and definitions so that people can easily digest it, right? And so one of the things that I will show you is, so this is her website, right? She's a racial justice educator and writer. Her name is Debbie Irving. Yep, I love her. Her website is debbieirving.com. And so she has these little Post-it notes, right? What's the most important thing most white Americans don't know about race? And you can click it. And then she'll tell you that we have one. That we have one, right? She said, I knew enough to check off quote unquote white on forms, but I had no idea on how being white in a nation built by and for white people had influenced my life experiences, outcomes, and worldview. Though I could have given you examples of how being female, upper class, or a New Englander had impacted all of that, I would have been at a loss at how to articulate being white had shaped me. White felt to me like the quote unquote normal race, the one from which all other races could be measured. Growing up in an overwhelmingly white suburb, I would have told you there was no race or racism in my town because we were all white, right? And so I love her because of the way that she talks about things, right? And then she gives you other things. Is race real or not? And this is my favorite. This is my favorite because she says, are bigotry, prejudice, and racism the same thing? No. And this is a huge source of misunderstanding. Prejudice is when a person negatively prejudges another person or group without getting to know the beliefs, thoughts, and feelings behind their words and actions. A person of any racial group can be prejudiced towards a person of any other racial group because there is no power dynamic involved. Bigotry is stronger than prejudice, and it's a more severe mindset, and it's often accompanied by discriminatory behavior, right? It's arrogant and mean-spirited, but requires neither systems nor power to engage in. Racism is the system that allows the racial group that's already in power to retain power. Since arriving on U.S. soil, white people have used their power to create preferential access to survival rights and resources, housing, education, jobs, voting, citizenship, food, health, legal protection, etc., for white people, while simultaneously impeding people of color's access to these same rights and resources. Though quote unquote reverse racism is a term I sometimes hear, it has never existed in America. Because why? White people are the only racial group to have ever established and retained power in this country. And so I love the fact that she breaks it down for people. And so what I remind people is anything that ends in an ism whether it's sexism, ableism, racism, right? Any of the isms indicates that there's a system. It indicates that there's a power structure. And then you have to look at the group that has the power within that system. And then you know that. And in the United States, the only group that's ever had that, her name is Debbie Irving, Debby Irving. And so, you know, and folks, listen, I have in my link tree, there's a whole little section for racism recommended resources. You can click it. There's documentaries suggested, books suggested, website suggested, all of that stuff is in there in my link tree. It's been up there for a long time now, right? And I had no idea we were going to go in this direction, but it's just really important for folks to know. And this is something that I really I really desire for white people to understand. No one is asking you to apologize for the past. Nobody is asking you to feel guilty or feel ashamed for being white or what happened because you weren't part of what happened. What we desire is for you to become aware of what has happened, the privileges that you have because of it happened, and for you to be a part of dismantling those systems that allow it to still exist, right? So that we have equity, inclusion, and access, because we don't currently have enough of that. So go ahead.
You know, it just made me think about. It just made me think about how the term quote unquote woke got appropriated and bastardized.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And used to poison the conversation.
Yep.
Because obviously, if you're not woke, you're asleep.
Right.
And this is where the politics of division come in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You think about this, right? This one thing that has bothered me. You have Republicans who have railed against education.
Mm-hmm.
They rail against, universities are bastions of liberalism and all that good stuff, right? And then they use their rhetoric to kind of fuck up the conversations. But they too are products of these systems, the elite systems.
Yeah.
Yale, Harvard, they've gone to these top tier universities and they know better.
Yep.
But then they come back, and because of how they're thinking about maintaining power, they use what they know against their electorate, because they know within their electorate they can be controlled through fear and loathing.
Yeah.
They can be influenced because of fear and loathing.
This is something that I go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, and this is the thing that I have said, and this is where I want to remain hopeful and optimistic. Here's what I understand. In order for equity to truly exist and for all the isms to be no more, for example, in order for racism to no longer be a thing, it will require white people giving up their privilege. And I want to believe that there's enough white people willing to do that. Historically speaking, I don't trust y'all's ass. Right? I mean, this is really what it comes down to. Just keeping it, like, I'm not being negative and saying that you won't. I'm just saying I have zero expectation that you would be willing to. Right? I don't know how many people would be willing to do that, to give up that privilege, to give up that advantage, because that's what it requires. Good morning, Hark. So I don't know. And I will tell you this. So the only thing that overcomes fear, folks, is hope, right? Hope is the one thing that is more powerful than fear. It is not love. It is hope. And for those of you all who have watched me for a really long time, you know I'm a Hunger Games girl, right? And what did we learn from President Snow? We learned they want you to have a little bit of hope. a little bit of hope is good, but a lot of hope is dangerous. And so what we have to have is a lot of hope, not faith in, not trust in, right? But hope in it, right? So St. Bart, when you asked me, how do you give up the white privilege? There have been people to do it, right? So for example, let me show you. If you're out shopping and you're in line and there are Black and brown people around you, and they go to take you first over the Black and brown people because you weren't there first, even though you weren't there first, you say, no, this person was here ahead of me. When you hear someone say something that is that they wouldn't say to you as a white man, you address it, right? You give up the privilege that is given to you, and there are so many instances where it happens, and part of it is just you have to start becoming aware of the preferential treatment that you get when you're out and about. Start looking to see if you get asked, yes sir, do you need anything, before somebody else. Notice if you're offered a seat in the restaurant before the Black family that came before you and you got the same number of people, right? Start looking if you've been sitting at the bar less time than the other person and that person gets served first. You have to start becoming aware so that you can recognize the privilege that you have, because the world simply accommodates you, right? And then you have to start addressing it in the moment, because when you address it, you make the other person aware that they are conditioned to it as well, right? And so that's the beginning steps of how we undo this mess. And so this is the same way that I feel about our politicians. I don't trust their asses either. And as much respect as I have for Barack and Michelle Obama, there are things that Barack Obama did in office that I am so angry about, right? There are things that I'm just like, how could you do that? And I also understand that he had to play a game, like many of them do, right? He's in their system. And so what was he willing to give up in order for him to get whatever? So did we really think that he was going to come in and get the Affordable Care Act the way that he originally wanted it? Because the way that it exists today is not what he originally proposed.
Nowhere near.
Right? And was he still going to be able to do anything different regarding immigration? Or what were the deals that were done to get the wins that were gotten? And so, I think we have to start just acknowledging the reality of what we're dealing with, and stop putting people on a pedestal, right? His immigration policies, his foreign policies, I don't agree with, right? And that's why I say when it comes to foreign policy, there's not a lot of difference between Democrats and Republicans. At least there hasn't been, and it's going to be up to us to change it, right? Let me share this with you all real quick. So one of the documents, it's also in my link tree, that I like to pull up and show people, is it's the literal document for South Carolina's secession from the Union. And I'm not going to read the entire thing to you, but I want to read a few parts of it that are really, really important. Okay. So here's what it says. The people of the state of South Carolina, in convention assembled on the 26th day of April, AD 1852, declared that the frequent violations of the Constitution of the United States by the federal government and its encroachments upon the rights reserved of the states fully justified this state and then withdrawing from the Union. But in deference to the opinions and wishes of other slaveholding states, she forbore at that time to exercise this right. Since that time, these encroachments have continued to increase, and further forbearance ceases to be a virtue. So what do they say? They said, listen, y'all were infringing upon my rights as a slaveholding state. And for a while, because the other slaveholding states wanted us to stay in this damn union, we did. But we're no longer willing to do that because y'all keep encroaching upon our right to have slaves. literally in the first fucking paragraph, it says the issue is you are encroaching upon our rights as slaveholding states. Now listen to what it says. It says, in the year of 1765, that portion of the British Empire embracing Great Britain undertook to make laws for the government of that portion proposed of 13 American colonies. A struggle for the right of self-government ensued, which resulted on the 4th of July, 1776, in a declaration by the colonies that they are and of right ought to be, and this is in all caps, free and independent states. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all the other acts and things which independent states may of right do. They further solemnly declare that whenever any, quote, form of government becomes destructive of the ends for which it was established, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new government. Deeming the government of Great Britain to have become destructive of these ends, they declared that the colonies, quote, are absolved of all allegiance to the British crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be dissolved. So basically, they said, listen, we said that at any point in time, if our allegiance, if our union with a particular government was now contradictory, or if it becomes destructive to us or for what it was set out to do, then we could leave it. We could abolish it. That's what we said. And so we did. We separated from Great Britain. Check this out. They said so they went through the 13 states, proceeded to exercise its separate sovereignty, and they adopted for a constitution itself. And they appointed officers for the administration of the government in all its departments, legislative, executive, and judicial. For purpose of defenses, they united their arms and their councils, right? They're telling you all the things that they did together. But listen at this. The Congress of the United States, we had an administration, and this is what we said, declaring in the first article, quote, that each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not by this confederation expressly delegated to the United States in Congress assembled. So anything that they did not designate to the overseeing Congress, the states still were independent to do in and of themselves. And he says, under this confederation, the War of the Revolution was carried on. And on the 3rd of September, 1783, the contest ended, right? And there was a definite treaty that was signed by Great Britain, blah, 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 blah. And so they say, so I want you to understand what they're doing in this document. They are laying out for you all of the legal justifications that they have for seceding from the Union, because they meet the same legal justifications that we had for leaving Great Britain. So they are laying out, here's everything we did to leave Great Britain. And based on that, that's why we can leave this union. So this is what they said. The parties to whom this constitution was submitted were the several sovereign states. They were to agree or disagree. And when 9 of them agreed, the compact was to take effect among those concurring, and the general government, as the common agent, was then invested with their authority. Now, if only 9 of the 13 states had concurred, the other 4 would have remained as they were, separate sovereign states, independent of any of the provisions of the Constitution. But in fact, 2 of the states did not accede at that time to the Constitution until long after it had gone into operation among the other 11. And during that interval, they each exercised the functions of an independent nation. By this Constitution, certain duties were imposed upon the several states, and the exercise of certain of their powers was restrained, which necessarily implied their continued existence as sovereign states. But to remove all doubt, an amendment was added. And that amendment declared that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. So on the 23rd of May, 1788, South Carolina, by a convention of her people, passed an ordinance assenting to this constitution and afterwards altered her own constitution to conform herself to the obligations she had undertaken. So I'm going to come down a little bit. So then there was a fourth article in the Constitution, and here's what it said, quote, no persons held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping into another state, shall in consequence of any law or regulation in the new state be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up upon claim of the party to whom service or labor may be due, right? So this is what South Carolina said. Listen, we added a fourth article to the Constitution. And that fourth article said, if my slave escapes my state and comes into your state, and your state doesn't have slaves, and your state made slavery illegal, he's not free because he gets to your state. You have to deliver him back up to me, and I'm going to lay claim to him because I own him. So this is what South Carolina is saying. And listen to what they said. They said this stipulation was so material to the compact that without it, that compact would not have been made. South Carolina said if you had not agreed to give us back our slaves that escaped, we would have never joined this union. I want you all to sit with that for just a moment. When they tell you that the Civil War was not about slavery, when they tell you that secession was not about slavery, yes, the fuck it was, and they said it in their own document. They said this stipulation was so material to this compact that without it, that compact would not have been made. The greater number of the contracting parties held slaves, and they had previously evinced their estimate of the value of each of such a stipulation by making it a condition in the ordinance for the government for the territory ceded by Virginia, which now composes the states north of the Ohio River. That same article of the Constitution stipulates also for rendition by the several states of fugitives from justice from the other states. And it goes on to say in this next paragraph, and this is all this next paragraph is the last thing I'm going to read. Appreciate that. The general government, as the common agent, passed laws to carry into effect these stipulations of the states. No, they weren't duped, Motormouth. Here's what happened. For many years, these laws were executed. So for many years after they all joined together as the Union, if someone escaped, they did deliver them back up and they sent them back to the state where they were enslaved. But listen to this. But an increasing hostility on the part of the non-slave holding states to the institution of slavery has led to a disregard of their obligations, and the laws of the general government have ceased to affect the objects of the Constitution. So what they just said is, the more time passes, the more the slaves that don't own slaves, they don't like slavery. And so they stopped giving us our slaves back, right? Non-slave holding states began to not support slavery. And so they just said, we're not going to do it anymore. And they said, listen, the states of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa have enacted laws which either nullify the acts of Congress or they render useless any attempt to execute them. And he says, in many of these states, the fugitive is discharged from service or labor claimed, and in none of them has the state government complied with the stipulation that's in the Constitution. The state of New Jersey at an early day passed a law in conformity with her constitutional obligation, but the current of anti-slavery feeling has led her more recently to enact laws which render inoperative the remedies provided by her own law and by the laws of Congress. So what are they talking about? There is nothing that the state of South Carolina is mad about except slaves. That is the only thing the state of South Carolina is pissed about, folks, is because if their slaves got free, the northern states were no longer giving them their states back. And so this is what it says. They then go on to say that we affirm that these ends for which the government was institutions was instituted have been defeated. The government itself has made destructive of them by the action of the non-slaveholding states. And so they said, we're justified in leaving. So anybody that is telling you this is not about slaves, they lying. They just don't, either they are flat out lying or they don't want to know. Because it is all that the state of South Carolina talked about in its document of secession.
You know what, Dani? You know, these days, there's virtually no reason for people not to explore these things because it's easily accessible now. People can go and they can read through the ordinances of secession. They can like sit with that shit for a while.
Yep.
You know, you can easily now find documentaries and people commenting on the Reconstruction era. You can find this stuff if you want to.
And that's the key. And so this is why I said, if I tell you where to go and find it, if I even tell you what to Google, and you don't take the time to even do that, I owe you nothing, because what it demonstrates to me is you don't really have a desire to know. You just want to act like you do. You just want, it's performative that you care. Because listen, it is not enough to not be racist. You must become anti-racist. You have to be completely against it and work to dismantle it. Right? And so it's the same way. I am a cis heterosexual woman. Within the Black community and the Hispanic communities, homophobia and transphobia runs rampant. And so every time I hear a person of color, anybody really, but even within my own group, when I hear cis heterosexual people say things that are homophobic or transphobic, I check that ass in real time. In real time, because that's my responsibility. I belong to the group that is doing the oppressing. I belong to the group that has the bigotry, right? I belong to the group that makes the laws, right? I belong to that group. So therefore, it is my responsibility to check that group in real time when I hear it. That is what white people must do when it comes to racism. That is what men must do when it comes to sexism, right? I said this the other day. It is so crazy to me that not a single man knows a rapist or someone that commits SA, but women are SA'd every 68 seconds in this country. How the fuck is a woman sexually assaulted in the United States of America every 68 seconds, but y'all don't know none of the men doing it? Don't tell me you don't know them. You know them. You've heard their jokes. You've heard the way that they speak about women. You've heard the way they talk about the girls that they've dated. You know them. And you are not checking them when they say it. You're either chuckling or you're like, but you won't say nothing. And so what that means is you are complicit.
Yeah. You know, I'm thankful that I grew up. There were like 9 of us that our families like moved into this like white neighborhood before the white people fled, you know, white flight. And we were all around the same ages between like 6 and 10 at the time. And there's a group of us that are like 1 year apart. And we grew up, you know, jocks and personalities and all that. And, you know, you get like 17 and everybody's like going to get smoke liquor and get drunk inside somebody's backyard. And my friends, we sat around talking about like how popular we were and how we got all the girls and all this stuff, right? But one of our friends, we were sitting there talking, drinking and getting high. And he said, you know what, fellas, we need to agree on something. What we have is a superpower and we must never abuse it. And a lot of guys don't grow up with that sense of conscience about where they are and the power they wield amongst their peers.
Yep. 100%.
And that's where some of this stuff has like fallen apart. And like you were saying, you remember when Neil Gorsuch, they got caught up in all that madness with college and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
I think so. I fell out with one of my white friends because I said to him, I said, you know what? We've seen this shit in the military, especially overseas, right?
Brett Kavanaugh.
I said, especially overseas. You go to the NCO club on Friday and you have the girls from off base that are able to come on and fill the club up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see the shit happening. You can see a group of guys that are drinking. They're encouraging the girls to drink and they're having a good time. And you can see that toward the end, people slip off with girls, with these women.
Yep.
Right? And you know.
I do.
That what's about to happen was not fully consensual because this is alcohol fueled. Yes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And there was a racial divide too. Because this was like a lot of the YT guys. That's what they engaged in. With the brothers on the other side, because we had conversation, we had to pull the popular ones of us. You know, we beat someone and we dip through conversation. Mm-hmm. But we all knew these guys existed. And these men who go to college, the frat parties, they know these guys like Gorsuch.
But like Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
They know these guys existed. So I don't know why people wanted to deny that shit happens.
I want to also say this. It's not just the girls off post, right? The ratio within the military of women that are essayed is astounding. It's about 41% that have reported, right? 41% of women surveyed, veterans surveyed, have said, yes, I was essayed in the military, right? And I've said this before when this topic has come up, and I'm going to say it again. It is so prevalent in the military, folks, thanks, Elaine, that when you're at the VA, there is a specific classification for it. Mm-hmm. It is MST, which is military sexual trauma. So yes, but CD, it was reported on this survey. It was reported. So they surveyed a bunch of women veterans and 41% said, yes, I was. But many don't report while they are serving because you get penalized. And I'm not, and I am so not kidding when I say you get penalized. It is you that pays the price. It is not him ever. And so I think that it's important that people really understand, the men. And, I've said this before. Yeah, no problem, CD. I've said this before. Be the guy that says, man, she's had enough to drink. Don't buy her another. Right? Be the man that doesn't let him follow her out the door. Be the man that doesn't allow him to follow her to the bathroom. Right? I think that it's just really incumbent upon men. And I'm going to say this, and women, you can say if you agree or disagree. But, you hear a lot of men today talk about women being too masculine or saying they don't need a man and all of that type of stuff, right? And don't get me wrong, we don't. However, I just want to say this. The number one thing I believe most women desire from the men in their lives is safety. And because we do not get to feel safe, what else are you good for? Like, listen, we can find a way to feed ourselves. We can find a way to take care of our children. We can find a way to do whatever. But if you can't, at the bare minimum, protect me, right? I don't need shit else from you. And so I think that one of the things that men don't understand is that one of the reasons women have had to step up is because that basic, right, safe place, Carol. And so quite often, this is why we choose the bear. Quite often, you are the thing that makes us unsafe. When women are murdered, right? In the vast majority of cases, it is the man that's supposed to love her that does it. And the vast majority of violent crime happens from men. So not only do you not protect us from other men, but the vast majority of the time, if we are unalived, it's y'all that did it. So you can't blame women for getting to this place where they have to have independence, because that independence and that aloneness is the substitute for security. If I just simply choose the fucking bear, I'm better off.
You know, I had talked a few years back, a few of my friends, we were talking about how, because we all in our different places, we got into helping mentor the younger guys. And it's a lack of mentoring for a whole almost 2 generations of young men who grew up without either grew up without fathers in the home or a positive male role model in their life, who did not get to experience or see what a functioning relationship looks like, and how it could be navigated. It's like a lack of knowledge that's led to some of this stuff.
I think that a lot of what it is a lack of emotional intelligence on the part of men. And some of it is not your fault. Let me just be clear. Some of it is not the fault of men. Some of it is not, because you have a society that tells you don't show your emotions. You have a society that tells you to channel every emotion into anger. It's the one emotion you can express. Men can express lust, and men can express anger, right? Everything else, they're taught to channel into one of those 2 things. Those are the two emotions that young men, boys, are taught is okay, right? Be a man. And it is no. So motor mouth, I'm not saying they get a pass. What I'm saying is I can acknowledge, right? I can acknowledge that society plays a part in that conditioning, right? I can acknowledge that. I can also say that at some point you become responsible for your actions, and not every man turns out that way, which means men don't have to turn out that way, right? And so I think it's fantastic when men want to mentor, but I also think that men choose to mentor younger children because that's easier, because you're in a position of authority than having to check your peers, right? I think men, y'all will love to be part of a Big Brother program. Y'all will love to come down and talk to the young kiddos and tell them what to do, because you're in a position of authority and they look up to you, right? And that's easier to do than to check your peers in real time, because those are your boys, right? And so this is the thing, when men talk, like they talk about men being lonely, right? Let me just tell you, women have been lonely for a really long time. The thing that we do well, though, is we know how to nurture. And what women have really begun to learn how to do is nurture themselves, right? We've nurtured children, we've nurtured men, we've nurtured the world, we've nurtured everybody. And what's happened, especially over about the last 10 to 15 years, is women have begun learning and practicing how to nurture themselves. And so when they find that they're able to do that on their own from within, then we no longer accept the bare minimum, right? And for the longest time, so we created patriarchy is not the natural way. For decades, for centuries, matriarchy is what existed, right? I don't know how many of you all know that or not, but for centuries, matriarchy is what existed, not because women ruled the world, but because women nurtured the world. Women could lead through nurturing and responsibility and discipline and that gentle correction, right? Women nurtured, right? And so think about this. I was listening to a historian talk about this the other day. She said, so think about it. For the longest time, men didn't know that they played a role in childbirth. All they knew was shit. One day she was pregnant. Her belly was growing, right? And so women were respected as these divine vessels from which life came. And men didn't know that they played a part in it. And women could heal, and women could nurture, and women could do medicine. And so when men started recognizing that, oh, well, we play a part in it, and then they began to build these systems, right, in which to elevate themselves and ways to diminish us. So all of a sudden, women are witches. Really? And this is why you see, I have a shirt that says this very thing. It says they didn't burn witches, they burned women, right? And they created a society where women became dependent upon men. Not only could we not vote, but we couldn't hold jobs. And if we could hold jobs, it was only certain jobs, and we couldn't make as much money, and we couldn't have credit, and we couldn't buy a house. And so guess what? Then we were subject to the man, and it didn't matter if he beat us. It didn't matter if he was horrible to us. It didn't matter if he screamed at us. It didn't matter if he belittled us. It didn't matter, because where could you go with your babies if you were subject to his financial dependency? This is why they want to get rid of SNAP. This is why they want to get rid of Medicaid. This is why, because those programs that exist, they give women the freedom to leave those environments that do not serve them and still take care of their children.
But then, do you not think that all this is really is connected to the control of white women in particular?
I think that it's a control of all of them, right? So like, I think it's definitely that, right? But when you think about the fact that Black women are the fastest growing segment of educated individuals in this country, I think it's women overall. And so this is the thing. There is a distinction between Black women and white women, right? However, though, that's the intersection of racism with sexism. So when yes, it's the intersectionality. So
and it's so difficult to have conversations about the intersections with conservative minds.
Yeah. So this is why we have to talk about. So when I talk about sexism, right, I am talking specifically across the board for all women, because under that umbrella of sexism, we are all subject to the same thing, maybe even in varying degrees, right? So just like within racism, I understand that I have light skin privilege, right? And so within sexism, white women understand that they have a different privilege. Okay, we get that. But the sexism is still the sexism. And so I think what people don't understand. So last dude that I was in a long relationship with, we had a conversation, because whenever things would get overwhelming, because I juggle a lot. If you've watched me a lot, you know that I juggle a lot, whether it's grandbabies, whether it's work, whether it's my body, my disabilities, whatever, I juggle a lot. And so when I might reach out and, and talk about that, what he thought I needed was reassurance that I could handle it. Ninja, I know that. What the fuck you think? I've been handling it. I don't need you to tell me I'm going to be okay, because I know I'm going to be okay, right? What I'm looking for is a safe place, a secure place. And if there's something that's on my fucking plate that you can handle, this is the time for you to step up and handle it.
But you know what? A lot of men need to be. Let me go back just a little bit, right? So I grew up in Scotty. That era of like stoicism. I didn't know that's what it was at the time. Mm-hmm. Being stoic, and being like a rock, that kind of thing. And it took me into my adult years and being around men who were married and everything, and talking with them, men who were in healthy relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And learning how to ask women like you, how can I support? Mm-hmm. What do you need from me, babe?
And so this is the thing. It's the how, right? Because here's the thing. When you say to people, well, let me know if you need anything, they may not know that they need anything, or by the time they know they need it, they ain't got time. You know what I mean? It's how can I help? And if you don't know what I can take off is there anything I can take off your plate? Right? That has to be the conversation. And that's not just in male female relationships. That's in all relationships, folks. That's in your friendships. That's in your friendships.
Yeah, but amongst certain groups of men, these things have to be these behaviors have to be taught. It doesn't come natural.
And that's why I said they lack the emotional intelligence. That's why I said they lack the emotional intelligence, because that comes from emotional intelligence. And if you've been taught to fear vulnerability, if you've been taught that vulnerability equals weakness, then you won't pursue the intelligence. The same way that white people can have access to any resource around racism is the same way that men can access any resource around emotional intelligence, right? I wanted to give Scotty a second to jump on in here. Hey, Uncle Scotty, you're on mute. I don't know if he knows he's up there.
I have some very interesting conversation.
Oh, there he goes. Yeah, you can come back in a minute. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a spot that I go to. It's a good vibe spot. They play a lot of live music and stuff. And on certain nights, there's a lot of young people in that 28 to 40 age group. I have some very interesting conversations with these people. I find them funny most of the time, but they call me Unc because I sit there and I talk and I share wisdom and stuff. And talking to some of the young men in particular. That's what I mainly talk to. A lot of this stuff is just missing from their lives. It's not even in their heads. And I think when you're young men who are in their 30s who haven't had that kind of mentorship through their late 20s, when you start to get your life together, you start to earn money and all that. They haven't had men around saying, "Yo, dude, you need to cut that shit out." Or, "Yo, man, that thing you got, that like drama you bring to work in the morning with your girlfriend. Are you the source of that drama?" And then you need to check that shit at the door. They don't have men around them to like guide them into their manhood, as me and my friends call it. It's one thing to say you're a man, but sometimes we call them males. You're still a male.
Yeah.
Because your manhood requires you to be these kind of things, and they don't have that kind of guidance. And there's a lot of unguided men around. There's a lot of unguided, women.
Listen, I know old ass men that
are still pieces of shit.
I can't. Right.
Pieces of shit all their fucking life. They've been pieces of shit all their lives, Dani.
But the thing about it is it's like, so like men today get upset when women approach relationships more in a transactional form these days, right? You will hear younger women today that are like, "Listen, I need my bills paid," or "Listen, I whatever," right? And men will say, "Oh, she's a gold digger." But here's the thing: if that's the only thing you bring into her relationship, if that's the only thing, if you don't have any emotional intelligence, if you're not providing any safety, any security, a safe place to fall, if you ain't provided anything else, then Ninja, pay the bill, right? and just saying.
It's true.
And so that's where they've just gotten to, is because and I really think that if you not bringing nothing else, Ninja, pay the bill. Right. And see, y'all laughing but you know that I'm telling the truth, which is why I ain't even mad at it. Right. What Cardi B say? I need my rent paid.
I was talking to these young guys, and that conversation came up about the transactional relationships, right? And I was like, you know what? Let me tell you something. And I stood up to make it funny, right? I stood up because I'm 5'6", so I'm a short dude, right?
Yeah.
So I stood to make it funny. I said, you see me? I've always had to be more of a man. I had to be more accomplished. I had to be more intelligent. I had to be a more conversationalist. I had to be my authentic self and be able to put that thing forward so that the women who I engaged with, because I had my preferences, would see me, right?
Yeah.
And I have never in my life of dating had a woman ask me for anything, because I didn't date women who needed anything from me but me.
Right.
Right? And I tell these young dudes, I said, who are you if you had nothing? Who are you? And you need to sit with that for a bit. Don't answer that question to me today. Sit with that shit. Because what you put into the world and these things, these energies attract.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to attract women who just want your money, you need to become more than your money.
Right. Which is why I said if that's all you have. And so, Don, I see you over on YouTube, and you said men have unseen wounds just like women. We know. And what too many women have done for such a long time is try to heal those damn wounds for you when you don't want to do the damn work. Right? I mean, literally fight tooth and nail to allow us to help you. Right? It's wild. So this is what many women, and I will only talk from my perspective, right, over that 50-year mark. Right, Chris. What I have learned is to see your potential and fall in love with who you are today. Right? Yes. And if I don't love who you are today, I'm not falling in love with your fucking potential, because potential may not ever come. So for a lot of women, because we are nurturers, that's just who we are. And so a lot of us will see, oh, he just needs a little whatever. But listen, you can give people anything that they need. And if they're not ready to take it, look, lead them to the water. But if they won't drink, they not ready to drink. And so hella, Raja. And so that's the place where people have gotten. And it's not that women don't desire to have men in their lives. It's not that women don't desire a partner. It's that, hey, Dolphin, it's that at this stage of the game. So, and I have been very honest about this. So I had a come to Dani moment back in, gosh, almost a decade ago now. And that moment for me was, if I could, if you gave me the choice between being an advocate, an activist, like being who I am, speaking truth to power, if you wanted me to choose between that, like if I could have that, right, but never have a husband, or if I could have a husband today who was everything I ever wanted, but I could not be that, I choose this every day. I choose this every day because I am whole in and of myself. He can't make me whole. And being with him doesn't make me whole without the rest of me. You know what I mean? And when I realize that, then it's never, I'm not somebody going around, listen, I am not somebody walking around like, when is love going to find me? Nope. Love found me. She right here. She right here. Listen, love is all up in here. You cannot give what you do not have. And so this was the journey that I had to be on for me. I had to become the person that I was like, oh, I love her. So listen, y'all, there's a difference between being lovable and being loved. There is a difference. There is such a difference between those things. And so now you can ask me all kinds of stuff. You can tell me, Dani, you're going to hell tomorrow. And I'll be like, okay, because I love who I am. And when you cultivate yourself, when you do the work necessary to deconstruct and unpack and all of that, and you love who you are, you don't need anybody else to love you. You don't need anybody else to love you. And so
people thinking you was on your business.
Listen, I mean, you can tell me, but it's not going to change. It's not going to change anything, right? And so this is what each of us, and here's where it gets all fucked up, because men like to feel needed. Women like to feel wanted. And so men want a woman that needs them, and women have gotten to this place where they don't need you. And we think that's the best compliment ever, because if I don't need you and I still choose you, Listen, if I don't need you and I still choose you, then you should know. You got it. It's a wrap. It's all good. Right?
But see, there's so many people out here who are not living intentional life.
Yep.
They're doing life on purpose. Where am I going with this thing and this journey that I'm on, right?
Yep.
And they don't, when you don't, like you said, when I don't need you and I choose you,
mm-hmm.
on the other side of that, you choose me, I need to find out what do you need from me, because we men have an inherent need to feel needed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So like I discovered when I lost my last marriage, which let me preface this.
That part, motor mouth.
I created a space within my marriage, because I had been tutored all these years, where my communication was open and honest and safe within my marriage. And after 13 years of being together, my ex-wife now, she said, I need to talk to you about something. And she talked about her feelings for other women.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, there's something I can't fulfill, and that I can't share you with anybody. So we just need to talk about how we're going to dissolve this. There was no hostilities and things like that.
Right.
So it became about, our conversations then were about, well, how do we handle the children? Because the children were still really little, at that point. Now, on the other side of that, I mean, in the face of it, that stoic thing I was talking about,
mm-hmm.
I was cool and calm, because I kept creating this atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
I was a fixer. I'm gonna make, this is all gonna be right, and no one's gonna be able to look at me and say, well, what did you do?
Right.
That thing is rolling in my head. But on the other side of that, I was tore up inside.
Of course.
Right? And it was only through like therapy, and I still see my therapist.
Me too.
6 years now, right?
I see her tomorrow.
Yeah. Me too. 9:00.
Yes.
It was only through therapy that I found out that about that my need
to feel needed. Mm-hmm.
My desires to fix everything and make everything right, because that's my responsibility. Those are my responsibilities in like the gender roles shit.
Yep.
So like
all them social constructs.
Yeah. So as a husband, like me and my friends, we all cook and we get together. So in the home, because I wasn't working, check this out. My ex-wife she's a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have to do anything because I was at home.
Right.
She come in the house. There was no laundry. If there was laundry, it was in the dryer. And we would sit down and fold it together over a glass of wine and talk about her day.
Right.
It was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I lost my marriage, I kind of broke up, because I was like, I was doing everything right. She has told me, you're a great man, you're a great father, you're a great husband. I was living a lie.
So here's the thing. So check this out. That goes back to, and I had this out today for my subscribers. We have to set our next, I knew I was going to knock that over. For my subscribers, we have to set up our next reading session. But so this goes back to the 4 agreements. If you have never read this book,
mm-hmm.
Okay. So the second agreement is don't take anything personal. And for me, I believe that for human beings, that's our hardest one, because for you, it's what didn't I do right and why, but I was doing everything like what you said. I was doing everything right. But it had nothing to do with you. And that is so difficult sometimes for people to understand. When people don't, it's not that people aren't choosing us. They're just choosing something different, right? And so like when you are at the grocery store and you pick up an apple, you're not choosing the other apples. You're just choosing that apple. It ain't got shit to do with all the other apples. You're just choosing that apple because that's the apple for you. And it is the same thing in everything else, right? And so, but you have to do, and listen, you don't do it one time. You don't do this work one time. Because as soon as you master one level of it, something else in life comes and you go, woo, look at that. I still got a little bit more to grow. I got a little bit more to grow. I got a little bit more to do. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's that you are doing the best you can based on who you are and what you know at that time. And hopefully over time, who you are and what you know changes. Hopefully it grows, right?
Yes.
That's
you shouldn't be the same person you were 5 years ago.
Right.
I mean, fundamentally, like deep down inside, if you're good sound, but in your mind, you shouldn't mentally, you shouldn't be. You should be constantly growing. And like with that book, the next one is the Fifth Agreement.
I have it.
And then the Mastery of Self.
The mastery. So the mastery of love, the voice of knowledge.
Yes.
These are all Dani Galleries.
I have to reread this shit all the time.
I do.
I have to revisit it.
Yeah.
To keep myself grounded in who I am. I know who I am, and I want, and what I bring to the world, what I bring to relationships if I choose to have one.
Yeah.
And how I relate to people.
Yeah.
And we need to explore ourselves more. And like I said earlier, why do I think the ways I think?
Right. And that's the part right there, right? So why do I believe what I believe? Right? That's called an agreement, right? And then the question is, does it serve me? And agreements that I made at one point in my life may have served me well. They may have been applicable, but at a different point in my life, that same agreement might be different, right? It might. And so what you got to do is you got to say, okay, I get to make a new agreement. You know what I mean? At a certain age, you have made an agreement as to what success looks like. Okay. And then at another point in your life, you go, well, is that belief, is that agreement that I made, is that serving me? Because if not, I need to adjust what I believe success is. And another great, Salam Abdul. So another great thing is Wayne Dyer. It's on YouTube. It's called The Shift. And he talks about the morning, the afternoon, and the evening of your life. And how in the morning of your life, the things that you focus on the most are going to be more of the material things, more of the worldly things, the 3D things, right? It's the kids, it's the job, it's the mortgage, it's the this, it's the that, right? And that's where much of our energy goes in the morning of our life. And then in the afternoon of our lives, we start to go, because that's where I'm at now. It's called The Shift, Roy. So like where I'm at now, I'm in the afternoon of my life, right? If I live to be 100, I'm more than halfway done. Okay. And so this is the afternoon. This is that middle season where things are shifting and things that used to be super important to me and seeing things that used to be, relevant and whatever, like that shifting and it's changing and our priorities. And by the time you get to your afternoon, the evening of your life, by the time you get to the evening of your life, you have a very, very different perspective as to what is truly important. And that tends to be your spirituality, your faith. That tends to be family and time spent and conversations. And so, I recognize where I'm at. And so one of the things that I will ask myself is, does that still, because girl, listen, not that you not, but is it in your highest good to set a goal that you achieved 20 years ago? Like, do you really do you think that at this stage you want to look like you looked when what? You want to look like you looked when what? Do you listen? Right? But it's those things. So does this beauty ideal serve me? Does this, all of these different things. And so this is the right, because your ass ain't playing in the WNBA. Right. I'm just saying. And so, this is the stuff that is required. And you might say, well, Dani, I thought this is a political live. All of this plays into, because all politics is the policy that impacts us as people. And what you will find is that the more that we do the work on who we are as people, the more clearly we see the policy. and more and more it shifts and it changes about what that policy is and how it impacts us and what's important. And I promise you, when you do that work, you will become more connected in your community. Parties will mean so much less. And how we live is going to be the most important thing that you can think of, right? And so I'm just here to tell you, all of this is combined. It all goes together. It's that intersectionality. We keep saying that word, right? There are points of intersection, right? Because when I start to think about, how I am and what agreements do I have, then that brings me into education, and that brings me into health, and that brings me into housing, that brings me right? And so all of this, it all goes together. And don't let anybody tell you that it doesn't. Don't let anybody tell you that it doesn't. Faith comes into play, not from a place of judgment, not from a place of condemnation, not from a place of right or wrong, but literally, is the way that you are approaching things, is it in your highest and greatest good? I never say, is it in your best interest? I say, is it in your highest and greatest good? And the reason why is good, better, best is a comparison, and comparison is the thief of joy. So if I know that no matter what, I'm always doing the best I can based on who I am and what I know now, right? Then every day is my best. So there's nothing that's going to be in my best interest, because what I'm doing today is in my best interest for my ability, right? And I said this yesterday, it's not a knowing in your head, it is a knowing in your heart, right? You can know something in your head all day long, folks, but until you know in your heart that you are equipped, that you are safe, that you can, and mainly it's the second one. Until you know that you are safe to do the thing, sometimes even when you know you're not equipped, or sometimes even when you're scared, just knowing that you're going to be safe, exploring that option, right, is enough for you to do the thing. But we live in a world that likes to scare you. We live in a world that wants you to think everything is lack, right? And everything should be scary, and everything is a failure, and all of those things, right? So I just, Don Juan said, women don't think you know your man. Shit, don't think you know you. Men, don't think you know you. Listen, so here's the thing, folks, we never really know anyone. We only know what they show us. We only know what people show us, folks. And it doesn't matter how much time you spend with someone. It doesn't matter. It's only what they know of themselves and what they are willing to share with you that they know. That's all you'll ever know.
You know what you made me think of, Dani?
What's that?
There's this implicit bias test.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we do it. It's in my link tree.
Yeah, and it is a tool and a way to get in touch with self.
Yep.
And I think more people need to explore their self.
So there's an implicit bias test. We've done it with subscribers. And so you can do it with racism, you can do it with politics, you can do it with sexism. It's an implicit bias. In other words, Roy, what bias do you have in you that maybe you don't even know, right? And Harvard set up just type in Harvard implicit bias test, and it'll come up, and then you can select whether you want to do political leaning, whether you want to do religion, whether you want to do sexism, whether you want to do LGBTQIA, whatever it is. Like, there's a whole row of them. And it gives you an idea. So there's a great book that I have. We were doing it for part of my book club. It's called Blind Spot: The Hidden Bias of Good People. Each of us has a blind spot, just like you have in your car. And so even good people have blind spots, right? And so it's being able to say, it doesn't make me a horrible person. It's just a blind spot. I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know.
No, I didn't know. That's it.
Right. Okay, Scotty, I want to give you a chance to jump on in here.
Aloha, my sisters and brothers. Yes, this is great, because this is exactly what we need to do. And from the dawn of time, information has always been power.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at a precipice today of having the power to reach back centuries and to the history that was made. And we can no longer say, this I did not know.
Right.
Because we have the ability to find it out. When the Magna Carta was first created to give us the rights and the laws that ended up being written into our Declaration of the Constitution, it was the truth, and as far as the truth to be told, and we've been lied to from the very inception about what the reasonings were for the United States to split away from England. You know, they'll give you some contrived story about it was taxation or some shit like that. They threw a bunch of tea in the river, but that had nothing to do with it. The shot that was heard around the world was our king in his own right was taken by some of these slavers in the 1700s and 10, maybe 20 years prior to the creation or the pulling away from the Great Britain was the fact that one of these kings, he was enslaved by one of the enslavers from Spain or Portugal. I don't remember right now, but he was brought into England, and he was a very learned man, knew many languages from around the world, been educated in the finest madrasas of the time, and he went to the courts in England, and since in English common law, there is no law that gives one human being the right to own another. And he was promptly released and freed. And that is the shot that was heard around the world, because any slave in the colonies could present themselves into a court and be freed from under English canon law. So even if you go back into like a third president, what the hell was his name? He had to release another king because he was catched and he was brought to the United States or into Nacogdoches or someplace like that, and he served 40 years as a slave until the president of the United States ultimately freed him and gave him this freedom, and that was after the king of Morocco, I believe, had to send a letter to the President of the United States, said, hey, we will send you all the gold and whatever you need to give us this king back to our...
Yeah. You okay, Scotty?
Well, I will be.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It's people that look like me that have to start doing the heavy lifting for the people that look like our black and brown brothers, because it's not going to make a difference until we stand up and recognize that it's racism that has been driving all the problems in this world for literally years, hundreds and hundreds of years at this point.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize what the problem is, you can't find a solution. And that is what every single white person in the world has to realize, that it is racism and it is the inequity of what we are doing to our brothers and sisters all around the world under this failed capitalistic nightmare that we've created. Our Capitol buildings have figures of the Native Americans on this continent coming together with, and they're the ones who gave us our democracy. from the Seneca and the Iroquois and this system of government where it's a democracy and everybody has a voice, and it's been corrupted. It's been corrupted by those who always want an advantage, and so the black and brown people have been toting this load and carrying it, and now it's up to us because we finally have the ability to reach through the divides with this, and you can no longer say this I did not know.
Right.
Because we do know now, and we are winning, and we are going to continue.
Yeah, we are continuing to win. And that's the thing that people need to understand is like, this is why I said the other day, we will never be able to go back. When they say, make America sweet again, it will never happen the way that they think America was great, because you can't unknow all the things that we know. We can't undo who we've all become, right? You just can't take that knowledge away from us. And so, whether people like it or not, we are going to continue to go forward and become what I would say is truly great. We have yet to be there, but we can make America truly great. And so I think that has to be our focus. So 100%.
And like I said, I'm the most ignorant man that I know. And however, my knowledge of my own ignorance prevents me from being stuck on stupid. And there's way too many people in this world that are stuck on stupid. And I sure hate to be there, because if I was, I don't know what I'd do.
I think a lot of people are stuck on scared.
Yeah, and that's true too. It's scared too. There's a lot of people out there scared.
Yeah.
A few years back when what was that guy's name in Iowa? Grassley was running. I went back there as a write-in candidate and got a few hundred votes, to be the senator from Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about going back there again here and just throw my hat in for this Joni girl over here, because there's nothing but a bunch of scared white racists running around in Iowa anymore, because they used to not be that way.
Right.
And now they've convinced the masses that somehow they have to be scared of their black and brown brothers and sisters. And I went back there when I went back to go run for the senator as just a data point. And my friends and relatives, they said, well, what kind of firearms are you got with you? And I said, there's nobody in Iowa I'm scared of. Why the hell would I be bringing firearms across country? Because I said, if there was a need for me to have a firearm, I'm sure one of you would issue me one.
Right.
And like I tell everybody right now who are out there and they're protesting, but do not bring any weapons with you.
Nope.
Do not. If we need a weapon, we will take it off of those who brought them and no longer are capable of using them.
Right.
Because we can just pick them up off the ground at that point.
Yeah.
And so it's we're in an inflection point in history right now where every single one of us has to speak truth to power.
Yep.
Each and every time it rears its ugly head and sets straight the record for the variance of us.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm really buoyed by the fact that the women and the young people are leading the charge on this one. Mm-hmm. And first time in recorded history that there's a movement that you cannot lie to the people anymore.
Right.
And I've just been doing some what do I say, internet searches here, and the search engines are not giving you what they used to give you 20 years ago. They're completely blocking out and feeding you what they want you to go to. And unless you actually know what you're looking for, you're not going to find it.
Yeah.
Funny you say that. Funny you say that, because people need to look up how there's an old way. You bring up like the old ways we used to search for things, right? People need to learn how to go do advanced searches, and you can go on YouTube and they can tell you how to formulate an advanced search so you can find the shit that you're actually
100%. Yeah.
And when I was in the military, I had access to every single library in the world with my CAT card. I could go into the Air Force academies, the Annapolis. I could go into FBI's, CIA's. I could go into the Library of Congress with my CAT card, and I could look up anything that I wanted to. I don't see that on the outside that I can do today. But as a socialist, a person who works for the government, is paid by the government to facilitate the capitalists of this country. That's what we do. We're socialists propping up a capitalist society that sends young men and women to die for them.
Yeah.
And that's over too, because the only reason that there's no health care for all in this country is so that you will be in perpetual servitude to the corporations that offer that to you.
100%.
And that shit's over too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to say this because I'm gonna stop because I'm just gonna keep going over and over. But and I'm gonna say two things, and one of them is it's a quote from Marcus Aurelius Antonius. And there is but one real value to life: to cultivate truth, to live without anger in the midst of lying, scared, unjust men. Because the overarching truth of life is veritas. It is indomitable and unimpeachable, and it stands on its own. It is indeed the essence of our existence. It is why the matriarch is returning to her rightful place in the universe. Mm-hmm. And that right there is going to save us all. Our salvation is here. The matriarch is returning. And the greedy little boys who stole her position of authority, their days are over, and they don't even see their salvation is at hand, and they want to murder more of us before the sheer magnitude of and the weight of we the people drive them from our midst and get their hands off of the levers of power.
Yeah.
So, and you folks are doing the. Man, I've never been prouder of anybody, of all the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're good. You're good, Uncle Scotty. We love Scotty, in case you guys don't know. Okay, CD. Yeah, I appreciate you. And so, Chris, you were asking in the comments and you were talking about, what does it mean exactly to speak truth to power? And I think it shows up differently for different people and in different situations. So the example that I gave a minute ago, where I said, noticing the privilege that you're being given in that moment and addressing it, that is part of speaking truth to power. When you contact your representatives and you lay the facts out in front of them, that is speaking truth to power. When we get on here and we talk about what the United States of America and the role is that we play in the genocide in Gaza and the illegal occupation in the West Bank, that is speaking truth to power, right? That's what it means. When you think about the people that are in positions of power, whether they are corporations or whether they are governments, it's about telling the truth, right? And so that's what Scotty is talking about. I think that I said this yesterday and I'm going to say it again today, right? I have this quote that I used to have on the back of my Facebook page for years, and it was speak the truth even when your voice shakes. And sometimes what I find is that when I am using my voice on behalf of other people, I find it shakes much less than when I go to use it for me. You know what I mean? And that is something that I'm a work in progress on, because I want those two things to be equal, right? Yeah, I want those two things to be equal. But it's also deconstructing, what we've been taught as women, right? What we've been taught as girls, and we've been, somehow in this world, we make people feel like we should just be self-sacrificing, and we should always put other people first, and all the things, right? The reality, though, is you cannot give what you do not have. So if you do not have love of self, you cannot have love for other people, not unconditional anyway, right? So it's speaking that truth. It's speaking the facts all the time, regardless of the situation, regardless of how uncomfortable it is, regardless of, how much it might break your heart. And I think that's what a lot of people are having difficulty with now, is to face the truth means to face that maybe people and this country are not who you have always believed them to be. And so with that comes a grieving, right? Many people are grieving. We have been grieving who we are. We've been grieving who we thought we were. We've been grieving a global pandemic. We've been grieving with no real tools. You know what I mean? I want you all to think about something. The federal government thought enough to give people money loans during COVID, but they didn't give anybody free mental health care, did they? They gave you physical money on how to deal with COVID, but they didn't give you mental health treatment on how to deal with COVID, right? And I would argue we needed the latter even more than the first, right? But that's because that's where our focus has been in this country. And so, what's up, shits and giggles? I was talking about you the other day when I had some stuff on Georgia pulled up. But this is the part that we all have to start to embrace, and kind of as my grandson would say, we got to lock in. We got to lock in, because we have a window of time. We are in the middle of the shift. We have been saying that we want a new system. Well, this is the path to getting a new system. And you just wanted it to be really easy, just like all of a sudden we got some new shit. Nope, we're gonna have to work for it. And so that's the place where we are at right now. Yeah.
I was thinking, Dani, I was having this conversation with someone a couple of years ago, about like we want the system to change and all this, right? And I asked the question, I said, do you think, well, I quoted one document, the preamble to the Constitution, which many people haven't read, looked at. If you looked at it and sat with it for a moment, that's the standard to which we should be holding our elected leaders, right? And it says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
More perfect.
Right? Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense.
Yep.
Promote the general welfare.
Yep.
And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States. And are our elected leaders doing this thing?
Yeah.
And the shit will self-correct.
I want to tell you this. So what a lot of people may not realize is that, and I want to say, hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all.
Because none of that is about self. It's about us, community.
Okay, let me see if I found the quote that I want. Okay, so there is a standard quote from Thomas Jefferson. Okay. And have you ever thought about what he's talking about when he says a more perfect union? What he's talking about is, he goes on to say, before they put it in this document, when they're talking about creating the Constitution, he says, if the savages can create a perfect union with no government, with no Congress, with no leader, he didn't use those exact words, but if they can do it, if they can create a perfect union, can't we make a more perfect union? That's where it comes from, y'all. That is where it comes from. The standard of our Constitution was, the founding fathers looked at what the Native Americans had built, and they said, wow, what a perfect union they have. And if they can do it, surely we can create a more perfect union. That's where it comes from. And so I wanted everybody to know that that's where it comes from, and that we need to kind of understand that that's where it comes from. It comes from so the Native Americans had their own type of constitution. And let me see if I can find it for you. I'll have to find it so that I can put it in there for you guys, into the link tree. Y'all know I'm a pull it up kind of girl. So let me see. Yeah. Let me see. I will find the quote about it. But that's literally what it is. Yeah. So I'll get it for you guys and I'll pull it out. I actually have the Native American version of it somewhere. So we can keep this conversation going exactly like it is. I also want to go ahead and start a Pally panel for today. I know that Carla has said she's not able to do today. So can I just kind of get a count, like an idea of who's able to do a Pally panel today? Because I know we're going to do one again on Friday, and we did one on Sunday. Okay, no problem, Nicole. Yes. Okay. For those of you all that are with me, we do it. We're about to start it now. And so here's what we do. Darnell is, yes, Letty, I sure did. So no problems, Blue Honey Pot, no problem. You can do a little, okay, cool. Okay, Friday, okay. So what we'll do is we'll do a Pally panel today, and let's just do a goal of 1,500 today for our folks, and we'll do some, and then Friday will just be a larger one, and maybe if Mo or Zena or one of our folks is in here and they can tell them, yep, I got you. And they can let them know that on Friday we'll do a bigger one. It sounds good, Don One. Okay, so give me a second, and we'll do we'll just set a goal of 1,500 a piece, folks, for today, since we know that Friday is going to be bigger. And Mo is in here, so I can get Mo to tell them in Arabic so that they know. Maybe I hit okay, but Mo's not. Alaikum salam. Give me 1 second, folks. So I always do a little bit of an introduction. What happened? I'm bringing people up and it's dropping them. I am bringing people up and it is not working. Raja. Oh, he just messaged me. Salam Allah Shak Shak. So really quickly, let me give you guys just a few details.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Dani.
Alaikum salam.
How are you, sister?
Oh, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. I'm good. So Wadmi is having trouble connecting, guys. Okay. All right. Appreciate you, Uncle Scotty. So folks, if you're wondering what this time is, this is when we try to help out our friends that live between the river and the sea, because they're able to take TikTok coins, convert them into crypto to buy food and clothing and things that they need. Things are really expensive there. Allah Shak Shak has a significant heart condition. He needs to leave Gaza for treatment, but hasn't been successful in doing that. But absolutely has need. Appreciate you, Jen. And so because I know that Friday is going to be better for everybody, today will just be a smaller panel, and we'll just, I'm good, Wadmi, and it'll be like 1,500 is going to be the goal. So Wadmi, can you do me a favor? Can you tell everybody in, it's like $14 or $15 is what it is. So Wadmi, can you let people know that Friday we'll be able to do a bigger panel with like higher coins? But we got people that just need to wait until the first of the month to be able to do more. If you can let them know.
اوكي داني يا جماعة، اليوم البانل راح يكون بس 1500 نقطة. راح ان شاء الله يوم الجمعة يكون الهدف يكون اكبر من هيك، لانه عندهم مشكلة بالنقاط بالمال، فبيحتاجوا لأول الشهر ليكون الوضع أحسن. فإن شاء الله الجمعة راح يكون البانل أكبر من هيك، وضع أحسن. أوكي
داني تقدر تقدمينها يا برايفي على وضعي؟ أنا عندي الوضع صاير جار خير. داني
Appreciate you, Jenny.
في مجال ترجمينها؟
So much is happening. Everybody's talking at the same time.
تفضل. بس في اثنين بيحكوا بنفس الوقت، قاعدة هي كمان بتحكي. الحمد لله كان.
Dani, I sent you a private message.
Okay. Okay. I'm behind checking messages, but I will, I'm going to try to get to them. I was working until midnight last night. So.
Salam alaikum, Sister Dani. How are you doing?
Alaikum salam. I'm good, sis. Yeah, I'm okay. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, hanging, you know.
Yes, I know. They're good. It'll be time for them to come home pretty soon, but not quite yet. So I have about an hour. Yeah.
That was long.
Yep. So, hey, folks over here. So we're going to do a small Pally panel real quick. And so because I've got to do it really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and log out on this side. I sincerely do appreciate you guys. You're fantastic and amazing. Substack, even though I can't talk back to you, I love you very much. And I will see you all tomorrow. Okay. Peace out.